What is up, everyone? Justin Parnell back with my good buddy David McDarby here at CubeCon 2023, and we are covering the very last round of day 2 of CubeCon. A lot
Yeah,
of people here.
a lot of people here. We're in round 3 of day 2, so there's been so many cubes already played. Is it day 2?
It is day 2 of CubeCon. Yeah, yesterday
Great.
was day 1.
There's been so many cubes played. We're here in Madison, Wisconsin. There's been so many awesome cubes. I just got done playing a cube. Have you cubed today?
I did get to Cube today. I got to Cube early this morning, which is the
Wonderful.
first time at CubeCon, my first official playing Cube experience at CubeCon. I was too busy.
Well, I'm glad you got to. Everyone out there, next year, hope to see you here because it's been an amazing time and I love being here. And I don't really want to leave, but for now, we got more delicious, hot cube action coming at you.
We do. And honestly, so we're getting ready to start the next round. We have 400 people, and David and I can see the 400 people. And this is, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say this is the most patient 400 Magic players have ever been in history.
I would agree. There's 400 Magic players. There's also 30 some judges or something like that.
Right.
They actually let the tournament let the event run. They've been awesome. There's event organizers. There's all kinds of people here, and we're getting this last round started. And I'm so excited to cover this cube with you.
And the cube that we are covering is the Creative Cube. This is a cube designed and submitted by Mike Kirby, and it's one that is similar to some things that we've seen so far on coverage, and also a little bit different. It is probably potentially similar to the Live the Dream Cube, but maybe a little bit more aggressive than the Live the Dream Cube.
Yeah. So a lot of times in the cube spectrum, you kind of have these two ends. You have a good stuff cube, and you have a synergy cube. So a good stuff cube, you play the good cards. They don't need a lot of help from other cards. Like the vintage cube is a good example of this. You play Moxen, you play Planeswalkers, you play Channel, and other really strong cards. Then the synergy-driven cube, you have all these little inner workings and these pieces, these puzzle pieces, A plus B equals C, D, E, F, G, and you make these awesome contraptions that make a holistic engine that's stronger than just its parts. The Creative Cube by Mike Kirby is solely on that synergy-driven side. So you're going to see a lot of cards that work together. They want other cards. So this cube, like the Live the Dream Cube, wants you to assemble cards together, but lower to the ground so that you still attack. This is a fairly aggressive cube, but maybe you're working some artifact synergies in there, or you're blinking some cards, or you're working with vehicles, or some graveyard, or sacrifice, or snow. There's all kinds of ways that you can build these cool engines in this cube, and I'm excited to cover it with you all.
And that is something that's, one, I'm glad you said snow. So that's something that is unique to this cube is we're going to see some snow cards in the cube. Every basic land that our drafters are going to be able to add to their decks afterward will be a snow basic land. The other couple of interesting things about this cube, and this is becoming more common in the cube community, is there are duplicates of some cards in the cube. Lands.
Lands, yes. So most cubes have shock lands and fetch lands, the match made in, wherever. This cube has 2 of each shock land and 2 of each fetch land. So you're really rewarded for working out like, oh, I have these 5 fetches, but only 3 shock lands. How many basics do I play?
Right.
And that's a cool little puzzle that helps you not only make an engine for the spells you cast, but also how to build your mana base. And that's a really cool puzzle for this cube.
And that definitely contributes to the potential aggressiveness because, mana ain't free. You got to pay a little bit of life, especially with double shock land, double fetch land. So a lot of mana bases look like that, especially as you go into 3 and maybe even 4 colors into this cube. You are going to have to pay for it in some way to get access to all of that different type of magic that's going on.
Exactly. And Mike Kirby has explicitly stated this cube really wants you to play 3 colors. A lot of these synergies are in 3 or even 4 colors. So Blink is kind of in blue-white, but with some green, so you have some Bant action. Artifacts are in red-white, but also all the colors can do some artifact things. So it really rewards you for taking the kind of the core colors of that synergy focus, but blending it with the other colors. Maybe you have some artifact and sacrifice action, so like some Witch's Oven in action, and that lets you build this cool engine that's unique to your deck for your draft.
And speaking of draft, we are going to see our featured drafter, Dom Harvey, who we saw yesterday.
Dom Harvey.
Dom Harvey.
Lord of the Rings top 4 competitor Dom Harvey.
That is right.
Who has gone undefeated in this CubeCon.
He is, not only is he 6-0 today, undefeated in matches on the day, 2 trophies.
2?
He's got 2 little trophy pins. He was undefeated yesterday, went 3-0 in the Wisconsin versus England draft, trying to carry his team to a win. Coming up a little bit short, but he's not come up short today at all.
Not at all. He also is the creator of the Companion Cube. He's brought that here as well.
Yeah, Dom is a competitive player, just top 8 of the Pro Tour, as we noted, but he loves
Top
cube.
forward. Top forward.
4, excuse me.
You're
I apologize.
Don't
Dom.
apologize to me. Apologize to him.
I apologize to Dom.
Okay.
So Dom loves cube, and was honestly one of the first people, especially someone that is a very high echelon competitive person that wanted to be at CubeCon. So we're very excited to see him be able to draft this cube right now.
Yep, and so we're straight right into the action. So Dom was pulling some white cards to the front. Maybe he did get the memo. This is an aggressive cube, and white aggro, whether it be artifact based or blink based or even snow, maybe is exactly where he wants to be. So he's got some creatures up at the front, and even eyeing some Temple Garden and some lands.
Now, we do see a Rogran Triome. As we noted, 3 colors might be where you want to be, so Triomes are a really excellent way to start that. But, of course, the best way to get those Triomes is often with a fetch land.
Correct. So Dom has taken the Raugrin Triumph, so he's got Jeskai blue, white, and red mana available for him. So he's looking for fetch lands, look for those lands, and he can still go an aggressive deck, but he can also be controlling if that's the way he leans for this particular draft.
And Dom has opened on 2 of my very favorite cards to cast off Rogran Triome, and that's Blade Splicer and Expressive Iteration. I'm a big Blade Splicer fan. He's looking at Deep Hermit Druid to go with his Jeskai land.
Yep.
Love to see that.
Yep, so you can be a Blade Spicer fan. I'll be the Expressive Iteration fan.
And Dom's probably going to be the Windswept Heath fan.
That wouldn't surprise me. So it looks like Dom is pulling to the front a lot of cards you would see in the Vintage Cube, and he will take the Blade Splicer. So
I'm fist bumping in the air.
So with this Blade Splicer plus Splicer, it looks so innocuous. It's 4 power for 3 mana, but you can blink it. Maybe there's some artifact synergies. Maybe Revelark or Vesper Lark is in here, and you can bring it back. It does so much work with these Phyrexian Golem tokens.
Or simply just attack your opponent until they're dead, which is,
Sure.
with a first striking 3/3 Golem,
Yes.
it becomes a lot easier than it looks.
Yeah, I mean, these Golems didn't used to be Phyrexian. They used to
That's
just be
true.
Golems. And then, Elshnorn did her thing, and now everything's Phyrexian.
Everything's Phyrexian.
Yep. So there's the second Marsh Flats of the draft of the cube in the front. Dom's also pulled Whirler Rogue. So if he's taking these kind of cards, he's really looking to get into that blink strategy, which again is in blue-white, but can also branch out to blue and even some green.
And Dom's going to take another excellent option, a creature removal spell, as well as a great blink target, in Skyclave Apparition, one of the best Fiend Hunter type cards that has been printed into Magic in the last many years.
Yeah, it hits basically anything in this cube. I think there's probably 7 cards it doesn't hit. And the worst that happens is they kill your guy, but they don't get their thing back. So it's usually a win-win for you for only 3 mana.
I would not be able to resist this Reflector Mage that Dom is looking at. And it looks like he's going to take this Polluted Delta. Reflector Mage is one of my absolute favorite blue-white cards, famously banned in Standard many years ago.
True.
But this Polluted Delta is going to let him get the Triumph. And, of course, looking at potentially 3 colors or even 2, fetch lands are always very critical to pick up.
Sure thing. And this Delta not only can get that Triumph to get Jeskai, but also maybe he has a Black Splash and he can get a Swamp or another dual line with this Polluted Delta. So, Dom Harvey, also great at Magic, a fan of vegetables.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. All right, so Dom is looking at Mere Battlesphere, a.k.a. the Battle Ball, but also taking a hard look at this Felidar Retreat, which, that's a card that if you're able to stave off aggression and get it going early, it can win the game all on its own as you continue to play Magic and just play lands for the turn.
True. It also works really well with his previous pick in Polluted Delta. So not only does Delta fix him and get his Triumph or a Swamp if he if he chooses it so, it can also create creatures, make them larger, give them vigilance. You can get a little of attack, a little of defense, and kind of, have all parts of the buffalo.
Yeah.
So here Dom is pondering his orb, thinking about what do you think he would want to open?
Well, I would imagine he's probably going to want another fetch land. Now that he already drafted one, but now he's very heavily incentivized to get a second one.
Yep.
And he's pulled another land to the front, but it's not a fetch land.
It is not. It is Odawara, but he's also looking at a Nettle Cyst or some food, some tough cookies, but the Nettle Cyst wins out. So this is an interesting pick.
It is a very interesting
He doesn't have a lot of artifacts and artifact and enchantments yet. He does have the Felidar Retreat as well as the Blade Splicer. So now he's got an even bigger direction. He can go Blink. He can go Artifacts. There's a lot of directions he can go.
And Dom has pulled 2 cards to the front, 3 cards to the front that actually make or are artifacts, and Glass Casket, Haywire Might, and Briar Bridge Tracker, which investigates, aka making a clue upon entering the battlefield.
Yep, so Glass Casket in this cube is way stronger than maybe it is in other cubes. Like, it depends on the environment how good a removal spell that is. Saying perhaps the Live the Dream cube, that would not be a great removal spell.
Right.
But in the Creative cube, the cube we're watching right now, many of the cards have mana value 3 or less. So that's, pretty good removal spell, all things considered.
And I would imagine Dom really heavily considering black cards, which would be his first foray into that color outside of the Polluted Delta. this to me says that Dom has done his homework and is identifying this as a premium strategy, a sacrifice strategy, which is honestly, I've drafted this cube many times, and it is one of my very favorite decks to draft in general, but especially in this cube.
Yeah, well, you'd say, I believe you're quite the Aristocrats fan.
I am.
That's like
I think
what
that's
you're
safe
known
to say.
for.
That's safe to say.
Yeah, so Dom, this pick is rather spicy. It doesn't quite go with artifacts, doesn't quite go with blink. He doesn't actually have a lot of food for this carrion feeder to feed on, but it's just such a good engine for the paltry price of 1 mana that he's keeping his options open and now can make a machine of so many different parts, and that's exactly what the creative cube offers here at CubeCon.
Right, and it's not difficult to pick up a little token cross synergy going into several different colors. And we do have that Blade Splicer. That doesn't make a token that you want to sacrifice, but you might want to sacrifice the thing that made it.
Sure thing. And here, Dom picked up Lion Sash. So this is a little bit of a graveyard hate because there's a lot of graveyard shenanigans going on here.
Right.
Not quite as many as other cubes, but the graveyard is very relevant. This is not only a threat, but also buffs the Nettlecyst. So many cards Dom's been taking does buff the Nettlecyst. And the Steel Seraph, he was looking at that around the first time, but the Vintage Cube staple, R-Star perhaps, has come back around.
And he is going to take that Steel Seraph, a great card to play on curve at 3 or off the top at 6 later in the game.
Sometimes you have 6 mana and you draw Steel Seraph. What are you to do?
Well, let's not forget Dom has that Nettlecyst from earlier in the draft, so I think he's cooking right now. He's trying to cook anyway.
We should let him cook.
We should let him cook, and Dom is going to continue to cook. There's a lot of lands here in this pack, but we have I would say a premium black removal spell in Baleful Mastery, something you can cast for 2 while giving your opponent a card, or cleanly exile something at 4 mana. But predictably, Dom takes the land.
Well,
Keeps his opposite open.
Yeah, he's got Polluted Delta, so he's keeping that Delta in mind and looking for lands that he can for sure find with that Delta, but also it looked like that was a low opportunity cost pick.
Right.
And he's going to play that Overgrown Tomb in basically any deck he plays, unlike some of the other cards.
Absolutely. And, even with double Shockland, double Fetchland, getting one of those cards in that cycle, whether it be a Shockland or Fetchland, with 4 or 5 cards left in the pack is going to be very powerful. Those are still excellent picks, things you can pick early on in the draft, and if you see them late, man, they're almost going to be better than just about what else you can find.
Yeah, so right now, Dom gets time to think about it because he's working with artifact synergy, enchantment synergy, lands, tokens, blink. There's so many different sacrifice. There's so many different directions his deck could go. It's not just like lands, lightning bolt, goblin guide, but there's so many things Dom needs to keep aware of so that that clipboard in his brain has so many different lines of text there that you have to be mindful of when looking at all the cards in this cube. And that's one of the great things, not just about Cube, not just about Magic, but about the creative cube, seeing it here at CubeCon, that there's so many directions to go, and it's like a playground of possibility.
Dom's trying to find these interlocking 2 or 3 card synergies and link as many of those together. And if you have enough overlap, you can find multiple things. Oh, we have a really late Triumph.
In Doth the Triumph, adding Obzon to his pull. Right now he's looking at the Huntsman's Reckoning, the Huntsman card from Eldraine. So this card, not only does it make tokens, but it searches up creatures. It lets them larger to attack. And with this saga, the Huntsman's Redemption. He can really do a lot of good work.
And Cankerbloom, just a really excellent card to pick up. It sacrifices to destroy an artifact or enchantment. It can proliferate. And it's also just a 3/2 for 2 that can bash your face in.
Yep. I remember playing a cube where my opponent had Cankerbloom. I had Tarmogoyf, and there wasn't anything else going on. It did not end well for me. I was like, has Tarmogoyf really fallen so far that the Cankerbloom?
The mighty Cankerbloom.
Yeah. So it looks like Chart a Course was the pick here. Not a lot of other options in the pack, but, draw some cards.
Oh, we get a 14th pick.
Blood Crypt.
Blood Crypt, and then a 15th pick Briarbridge Tracker.
Briarbridge Tracker does a lot. It makes tokens. It's good with Blink. It works with the Nettlecyst. It works with the Huntsman's Redemption. So this cube has a lot of ways to search up specific creatures, whether it be with the Huntsman's Redemption or with Fiend Creator, Friend Maker. It makes his own friends.
Fiend Hunter?
No.
All right, so Dom, while McDarby is trying to...
Fiend Artisan.
Artisan.
It creates fiends. Artisan creates fiends.
4 Fiend Artisan.
Yes.
Dom has threads on a lot of different decks here with 2 Shocklands, a Triumph, and that Polluted Delta, which is doing a lot of heavy lifting for his deck. I think one of the only cards that's going to be 1,000% to make his deck is going to be that Polluted Delta. But we're seeing in Pack 2... Ooh, we got some bangers here.
I saw Teferi Temporal Pilgrim, perhaps the strongest blue planeswalker in cube.
I would agree.
Yep.
I would agree.
So right now, Dom's looking at Mutavault.
I will not believe Dom's going to take this.
Well, it's a creature, you see.
I think he's going to take this wedding announcement.
Well, wedding announcement. I mean, Olivia and Edgar may be getting married soon, but it does work with a lot of the cards in his deck. But so does Mutavault. Wedding announcement cannot attack for 2 for the win.
Well, kind of.
Well,
not itself.
It can attack for 6 sometimes
Come on.
when the festivities have arrived.
I mean, I kind of want Dom to take this. Okay, there we go.
All right,
buddy.
well,
there we go, buddy.
you know,
thank you. Make me look smart.
Dom's probably played a lot of Esper and Standard or Wedding Invitation. He's like, come on, make some vampires.
That's right.
Begin the festivities. Drink some red Kool-Aid, as it were. It's a PG game, Justin.
That's exactly what it is on the back.
Yeah, sometimes it's apple juice, but just with some red number 5 in there.
Are you hinting that we have a secret layered Kool-Aid coming soon?
No hints. No hints.
Okay.
No truths, only facts.
We're opening on a Sunfall, which is a rare sweeper in this cube that ends up with a creature afterwards.
Yeah, well, most sweepers are rare, but instead, Dom looks like he's going to pick the Flooded Strand because it finds the Triome, it finds other basic lands when he's already got the Triome in play. So, you know, this Flooded Strand can really help his machine come together.
Leave the pressure on that Polluted Delta for putting it on its back for the first part of this
Yeah,
draft.
you know, if there was one land that Polluted Delta is used to being next to, it's Flooded Strand.
Yeah, they're good buddies. They go way back.
They go way back.
About 20 years.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. So,
what is time?
What do we think? What do we think Dom wants here? I mean, let's say something spicy. You know, he wants more fetch lands.
More fetch lands. Well, I wouldn't mind another Triome or 2. Because eventually you run out of targets for these fetch lands. So, like, maybe Dom has 7 fetch lands because they are 20 in the cube, but he's running out of duels and Triomes to find. So maybe some fetch lands, maybe some threats.
Maybe a Path to Exile. That's a premium removal spell. Ooh, and a Seekus Chariot. Premium removal spell and 2 premium threats in Angel of Invention and a Seekus Chariot versus Path to Exile. I would not. Yeah, so Tom's taking the fact, like, embarrassment of riches. I wish this pack was spread up a little bit more is what he's thinking right now.
Yeah, so Seeker's Chariot works well because it combos with his token makers and his artifact synergies. Also just attacks a lot and is a resilient threat. It also makes some beautiful cats like these tokens. I love the tokens the Seeker's Chariot makes.
Some of the best art of all time.
Honestly, better than the Seeker's Chariot itself. But it looks like Dom didn't go with the Seeker's Chariot.
No, he didn't, nor Angel of Invention.
Well, I believe it was a Path to Exile was the pick there.
Path to Exile. Yeah,
there it is.
Classic, one of the greatest removal spells of all time.
Maybe it works well with his Feldar Retreat. You can Path to Exile your own creature, make it 2/2.
That's a bonus. I don't know if that's going to be his primary game plan. He's not looking at a Warhammer 40k card.
Yep.
Hello.
That's Hormagaun's Horde. That is a threat that can come back when you play lands after it's dead. So the Horde just keeps on coming. The Tyrannus Swarm cannot be stopped.
Man. That seems like a very difficult thing to defeat if you have that and or Felidar Retreat together. Now, we have a swift reconfiguration, which is like Path to Exile at home in some cases. It doesn't turn into a land, but it does vehicleify it.
I mean, I prefer calling the Source to Ride Shares because it turns it into a vehicle, 1 mana, but, you know, you can call it whatever you'd like, and that's what he picks. So swift reconfiguration is the pick. This is, it looks deceiving. It doesn't look very strong, but it's basically Swords of Plowshares where they don't gain life. It's very strong, especially good if you have the Hermit in play, the 0/2.
Dom, man after my own heart, immediately pulling Wasteland to the front. And, of course, we see so Dom now has a Yoshimishu. Am I getting that right?
Yoshimaru.
I was close.
Ever faithful.
I'll take it.
Yep.
So that cares about legendary things to get counters on it. It's a 1/1 for 1, but gets bigger the more you play Legends.
Yes, including legendary lands. So you play maybe an
legendary
Odawara
permanents.
or a Takemura or all kinds of awesome Takenuma. So all kinds of cool things.
But Dom's going basic. We need more fetch lands.
Well,
we need more resources here.
I'd say he's going non-basic, but, you know, that's fine.
And we have Wooded Foothills in the previous pack. And is Tom saying, maybe do I want it back to back? I don't know. Hero of Bladehold with that beautiful new art is definitely a consideration here. And I think Dom would love to find something that plays into a lot of his synergies, which Hero of Bladehold definitely does, as well as being a very difficult to deal with threat in the mid game.
Yep. So not only did Dom go with Hero Bladehold, but it's the card that just kills your opponent on turn 5 if you untap with it, but also teaches you how to order your triggers really well.
That sure does. Yeah. Which one of these? We want to put the battle cry on the stack first.
We all learn sometime.
We all got to learn sometime.
That's what the hero does for us. So we've also got a couple other white cards. Dom is slowly kind of going down a lot of white aggressive creatures. We have Mikaeus the Lunarch before he became a zombie. We also have the Woodland Cantripper card. Woodland Acolyte, and that's what he chooses. So this is a 2/2 for 3 that draws a card, but also the adventure, a Noxious Revivals puts a permanent back on top. The wilds will be mended. In the wilds.
And they will, and Dom's going to make sure that that is the case. In all formats, and especially Cube, we have so many powerful adventure cards, and Wilds of Eldraine really provided a lot of those for Cube owners. I know I added several to my personal Cube.
Yep, right. I did too here. So Woodland Acolyte for 4 mana is basically a regrowth creature. That's awesome. It does so many different things. And here, Dom has a Karuga looking in the front. Also, a Relentless Cottage. Not only is this a dual land, but it attacks your opponent. It makes an artifact. You gain life with it. It does so many things for the low price of a tapped green-black land.
Right. So only 4 mana to activate that. Karuga, interesting. I think Dom in his heart wants Karuga, but maybe knows I think I've gone too far in the other direction to really make Karuga work as a companion. I would say, yeah, it's going to be Hallowed Fountain here, just to solidify that mana up. He's a little light on blue, but he's definitely going to be playing white, and that allows him to play some of the better blue cards. As we see Tristani Discordant, my personal favorite green-white card in mini cubes that it's in.
Yeah, especially if you are up against blue-black players. Tristani Discordant says, no, thanks, I'll have my stuff back. Dom, however, loves attacking for 2 with Reflections.
He did. He wheeled that Mutavault.
Yes.
He debated taking it last time.
He did, but
he took the wedding announcement.
maybe he had the soul read on the 7 other players in the draft and was like, you know what? This Mutavault will come back to me. So will this Sunfall, this rare sweeper.
Yeah, Dom eating good. All of the things that he was considering with previous picks are now wheeling, which is the exact spot you want to be in. And, of course, we see 2. Man, gosh, Dom is great options here. Angel of Invention versus Temple Garden. Dom probably trying to take mental inventory of how many lands he has, because Angel of Invention is definitely a premier threat here, but he is going to suit up his lands a little bit more with the Temple Garden.
Yep, so if you have the land count of lands Dom is taking right now, it is 37. So maybe, he might not even play any basics in this draft. Like, that's a thing. That means you've won the game.
He's working on it. Not going to be helpful if a Yorion shows up, though.
Yep. So
Dom's going to continue the land train.
With a breeding pool. So Dom can basically at this point play any card he wants in Pack 3. So he set himself open, the Khans of Tarkir method of drafting that Ari Lax was a fan of, and that you take all the lands Pack 1 and Pack 2, then Pack 3 you just take all the rares and uncommons.
Now, did we see a Field of the Dead early in Pack 1?
We did.
That's a shame.
We are not seeing it ever again in this draft.
We might, but not in the draft.
Not in the draft.
We might see it across the table.
Yeah.
Dom will not have it, which is a shame, because Dom's going to end up with double-digit number of non-basic lands in his deck.
Yep, so you cannot keep a good boy down, and Yoshimaru, ever faithful, has returned to Dom in the draft, and now he's picked that up. So now, in addition to his multiple myriad of archetypes, he's looking for legendary permanents.
And he picked up a Mishra's Factory to go with his Mutavault as well at the very end, in case he's really keen on attacking for 2 of his lands.
Yep. So Dom is set up here to be a 5-color mono white is the strategy right now. Classic. You hear about it all the time, along with artifacts, tokens, lands, sacrifice, all kinds of things. Well, the Carrion Feeder maybe not be hanging around, but maybe it is. You don't know. That's the beauty of drafting.
Right. It was a speculative pick, but Dom still has a whole other pack. Oh, God, look at all those lands.
Have we counted? Are there 17 lands here?
I think there was 11. But
11?
He's going pretty quick. Let's see. Come on, Dom. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 still. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
10?
10 lands.
You only need 7 more for the perfect.
Yeah, and Dom's like, hey, this is what we got. I got 7 more lands, 8 picks. Yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, he's great.
That's 15 right there. Bang.
Yep. So now Dom's looking at his fetch lands, seeing how many targets he has for each fetch land, so he can really plan out these 7 other lands he'll be drafting in this pack.
And notably, players are allowed to look at their picks in between, but Dom, professional Magic player, knows that in a competitive REL draft, you're not allowed to do that. So
correct. So Dom has the muscles for not needing to review his packs all the time. You can here. It's CUBECon. It's great. We're here to have fun and have a good time, so you can do that. Dom was like, I have my way to play Magic, my Magician's way. You can have yours, and he takes the Noble Hierarch. So not only is this a threat, but it also helps him get to those the Feldar retreats and those other cards ahead of schedule.
Right. Always great to play a Feldar retreat on turn 4 with a mana creature, and then play a land to follow up that immediately. Speaking of lands, Dom's going to take another good look.
We have the Noble Hierarch into perhaps the Ignoble Hierarch.
Right.
Yeah, you have
best friends.
Wow, they're friends. They probably don't defend the same thing, but it just would make sense. If you want one, you probably want the other one. Like, they protect different things. Ignoble Hierarch, not a fan of laughter, Look at that guy.
Unfortunately, that Walking Ballista is not going to get back to Dom, and ironic that it's in the pack as soon as you see 2 mana creatures with 1 toughness because.
Target acquired. So here he's looking at Boromir, Gondor's Hope. Looks for humans or artifacts.
I think he might be just legitimately looking at it to read it for the first time.
Perhaps. He's also got Luminous Aspirant in the front. Big friend with Wedding Announcement. They kind of go hand in hand. Also pulling to the front, Sky Sovereign, the big boat.
And Hangerback Walker.
That's kind of like Walking Ballista.
It is kind of like it. You know, both of those great with Luminarch Aspirant, but I would say might not get all of them back, but Dom has been a wheel in full, and he's going to try to take this Hangerback Walker and try to wheel the Luminarch Aspirant. That's going to be his snap pick if it comes back around in the rest of this pack.
Yeah, I would say Dom has a pretty good grasp on what is a higher priority than others. Yeah. So this Aspirant goes in really aggressive decks, can come down and just like it's a higher pick, and maybe the Hangerback Walker can go in any deck. The Luminous Aspirant can only go in one kind of deck, decks that play white cards.
And Dom has been cutting white pretty heavily. I would imagine he is a one of the drafters that likely has the most white cards. It is definitely his primary color. So we are really looking at trying to lower the curve as Dom is going to be spending a lot of his early turns setting his mana base up.
Right. So here we have a Treasure Cruise, which works great with all these fetch lands he's been taking. He's now eyeing Minas Tirith, which is a card that lets you draw more cards if you're attacking, which Dom certainly will be doing. So this is maybe a land that also draws cards. That's great. But instead, Dom will take the land that looks for other lands in form of Verdant Catacombs.
Yeah, no surprise.
Classically known for going alongside all these mono-white creatures Dom will be playing.
Classic. And, yeah, I mean, we know the deal with Dom. Dom's
Dom is 5 levels ahead of us.
Hey, right.
Like, I mean, there's a reason why he's on the approach and we're not. He can see these synergies that I would just be taking, like, blue and red cards, because why not?
That Spectre of Mortality got me for a second. I thought it was a Bitter Blossom.
Wow. So Dom here he sees Stoneforge Mystic, Prismatic Ending, and the Wandering Emperor. These are 3 amazing white cards that any person would love to even first pick in a vintage cube.
I can't believe, and he even has that Nettle Cyst to go with the
Stoneforge Mystic.
And Dom this is the most he has thought about something. Entire draft.
These cards, he really wishes he saw this pack earlier so he could get 2 of the cards out of it. But here right now, like the Wandering Emperor is traditionally the more powerful card within a vacuum. But Stoneforge Mystic can get that Nettle Cyst, Prismatic Prismatic Ending is a removal spell that no holds but no hards barred about it. But he will take the Wandering Emperor. It's removal. It's a threat. It's just really strong overall in the power level.
Yeah, and this is not a surprise to me as turn 4 is a very critical turn. A Wandering Emperor is one of the most powerful on-rate cards in this entire cube.
Yeah, traditionally in Magic the Gathering, when somebody has 4 mana up, one of them being white, you're on Restoration Angel alert. But now, when there's 2 mana white up, you're on the Wandering Emperor alert. And that's what's going to be...
In the year of our Lord, 2023, that's what you got to watch out for.
That's what's going to be Magic the Gathering for quite some time, I imagine.
All right, we have a Glimmer Lens, which is a great 4 Mirrodin equipment that brings along a 2/2 Rebel.
That's right. You have to say it that way.
I did.
Or you don't get the Rebel token.
That's right.
That's just how it works. We don't make the rules.
We enforce that here at CubeCon.
We enforce them. We don't make them.
And so Glimmer Lens and Fateful Ending.
Fateful Absence.
Thank you.
I mean, I've messed up on 5 cards so far, so it's about time you get one. So Glimmer Lens not only is a threat, it makes a token. It's an artifact for his Nettle Cyst, but also card draws when you attack with more than...
like, I'm going to take this whole pack.
Yeah, this pack is great. So we've got Teething Wormlet, a green card that works with artifacts. You don't see that very often. We've got
Night of Autumn.
Night of Autumn. We've got Green Sun Zenith for all these green cards Dom has in his deck.
And then we're taking a look at the Prosperous Innkeeper. I would the
Goose.
Gilded Goose.
The Goose is loose. The Goose is indeed loose.
It's loose. It's locked up now.
It's loose right into Dom's deck.
Yeah. Chatterfang, Tassiger.
Horizon Canopy in the form of back end is a pretty good pickup for Dom. He loves his lands. We know that.
Absolutely. And man, green and white. Who would have thunk it? Dom was prepared to draft it all, but he has really settled into a lot of great green and white cards. Chatterfang, which is a very, very high ceiling card. If you were able to make tokens, that card's going to go completely nuts. But now Dom, looking at this Eyesight Golem, you can't cast that, buddy. You need basic lands in your deck.
That's it's a little rough, but fetch lands can sometimes get basic lands. Believe it or not.
Did he just take it?
I believe so.
Madman, Dom Harvey.
Well, here we have another land or maybe a Charming Prince. Altar of Ball. If you're a big fan into Baldur's Gate 3, Altar of Ball is a good one for you there.
I can never get that card to work.
Yeah, well,
You should take the Charming Prince,
you just
though.
maybe more of a Merkle kind of guy.
Merkel?
Merkle.
I have a theory that Merkel used to be named Michael, and he just wanted to reinvent himself.
Kind of like Cher.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or Strategist.
Perhaps.
So Dom looks like he picked the Charming Prince. So this is a card that it slices, it dices, it's a charm. Little known fact. That's why it has 3 modes of the abilities. It's a charm.
Clever. You know what we're not going to see come back? Oh, we see Golos,
Golos.
here late. Dom is just like, wish I had the Field of Death. Would be nice.
Great. So I mean, he could still activate Golos. Right now, he's eyeing Boromir, Gondor's Hope. It's a 4-mana 3/4. Then when it ETBs or attacks, Titan Trigger, you look at the top 6 cards and get a human or an artifact. So we know Dom has a lot of artifacts in his deck. He probably also has some humans just by nature of Magic the Gathering cards.
I would say that's likely. But Dom is probably going to have one more artifact in Golos here, but I'm wrong, and he takes Boromir, Gondor's Hope.
Yeah, Boromir, Boromir was my favorite member of the Fellowship.
We have 2 Triumphs here with 4 cards left in the pack.
2 Triumphs. How could Dom not take a Triumph? He's looking at Minas Tirith to go with that Boromir.
Because the Triumphs can only draw 1 card, but Minas Tirith can draw multiple.
Well, he just took Boromir, who hails from Minas Tirith, from that area of Gondor.
Okay, so legally he's required.
Flavor-wise,
Yeah.
I'm not a flavor judge, but he should be taking the Minas Tirith right here.
Okay, I think he's going to take this Savai Triumph.
Well, Minas Tirith will remain undefended. That's what you get Boromir for dying.
And
Spoiler
I
alert, by the way.
think that was a Maul of the Skyclaves into a devoted druid, if I got my eyes about me, and that looks like a teething wormlet. So that is going to be the end of the draft for Dom. Heavy into white.
Sure.
Ended up with a decent number of green cards, and then can play any other card in his entire pool that he
True.
wants.
So funny, he got that devoted druid 14th pick, pack 3, is an infinite mana combo now in his deck with swift reconfiguration. It's infinite mana. You reconfigure your devoted druid.
It's no longer a creature.
-1/-1 counters don't do anything.
100 -1/-1 counters would not be enough.
100? You got to dream a little bigger.
1,000.
1 Google counters. And the Dom has infinite mana, so he can cast his Boromir on turn 3.
And both of those cards are good on their own.
Yeah.
Devoted Druid, no slouch, even if you can't add counters to it. But Dom obviously has a lot more going on.
I want to see 5 billion mana and then a Hangerback Walker for 5 billion and just like add all those dice on there, pile them up.
So if you were looking for other cube content,
yes,
where would you think you would want to go?
Well, I have a really good direction of cube content that you should go.
Okay.
Yep. And that's Cube Heads.
Okay, great.
Cube Heads, not only do they do interviews with your favorite cube drafting personalities, but they also are a drafting channel that's focused on bringing you the personalities and experiences in the cube scene. So it's not just, here's a cube, we're done, but we talk about the people who make the cubes, who draft the cubes. They tell stories with the people that bring the cube action to you. So like Cube Heads is not only great at that, but you want to visit them at youtube.com/cubeheads. You can see them right there with the cute little logo. They make some really sweet gear. Steve, the main cube head, Mr. Cube Head himself.
Primary cube head.
Primary cube head. He's a great guy. He's really fun to cube with. I haven't cubed with him yet this weekend, but I will try my best. So you should definitely check out Cube Heads because they make some really awesome cube content.
Great. And I will check that out, and especially after this event, because if you're not able to be here this weekend, you can check out youtube.com/@CubeHeads to find out a lot of things that are going on right now at CubeCon.
Right. They're here. They're covering it.
And we're going to check out what is going to be Dom's first round opponent and see the build. And I'm not exactly sure which one. We're going to find out from our team here. And we're going to try to get a little, looks like it might be Brandon, as his name is still visible.
Great. Yep. So we're looking at Brandon Cupoletti's pool here.
I see one very unique card.
Yeah, we see here a Yorion Sky Sovereign.
That's the one.
So most decks have 40 cards in them. Yorion says, nah, that ain't about me. Give me half as many more cards.
Now here's the problem, and I've run into this a lot as I've been cubing. Yeah, I like to draft non-basic lands.
Looks like Brandon does too. He's got about 7 or so there, I think.
Yeah, and one of the big problems is you can't really draft Yorion and also draft a bunch of non-basic lands.
True, but if you stick to around 2 colors, that's kind of doable. But it looks like Brandon has cards of a lot of colors. They are laid out here in terms of color orientation. So like we see Judith the Scourge Queen, we see Koglan Yadaro, we see Liliana of Death's Majesty. All these cards, they're not blue or white. So I would be impressed if Brandon can get together a Yorion deck with 60 cards in it.
I will. Well, yeah, 60 card minimum, which is what Brandon's going to be looking for, and I would say unlikely. Now, that being said, Yorian likely going to make his 40 card deck.
Sure. He's got Restoration Angel and Yori on there, so we already have two of the pillars of white creatures that ETB and blink things.
We
So
actually got a lot. I'm peeking a Solemn Simulacrum up at the top. I'm peeking a Reflector Mage card that I love quite a bit. We have a Lauren of the Third Path. We have a Twin Shot Sniper.
Yep.
All of those things are great to pop in and out of play a couple of times and accrue advantage over the game.
we also have the lesser-known Guardian of Girapur. This is basically a Restoration Angel for 3 mana without flash.
Yeah, March of the Machine's really showing out this weekend at CubeCon. A lot of really excellent cube cards supported by so many different mechanics for so many different cubes.
Yep, so not only do these creatures blink things, but they are fairly aggressive in the air. So there you see the Guardian of Girapur. It looks like Brandon is amassing a flying, blinking army. So, if you ever heard some wisdom from Doctor Who, don't blink. Brandon never got that and is looking to blink.
Which is ironic because he's using angels to do it.
That is, maybe that's where they came from. I mean, Brandon's going to be blinking so much, people just think he's double winking the entire time. So
we're gonna see Brandon. So Brandon laid out his pool for us, which was so kind to see what we could get a full look at and taking a picture of it to reference later. But now we're gonna see how Brandon builds his deck. So he's moving some things that are not blue and white. He's saying these are gonna go to the sideboard. I picked these up at a different spot, but yeah, Kugliadaro, Judith, that's not really gonna make the deck. Neither is this Altar of Ball. Neither is this Mobilized District. Neither is this Virtue of Persistence. Although that's a very powerful card. Neither is this Twin Shot Sniper.
okay, yep. So Brandon also has
Solidly banned.
Mole Drifter, Big Moles, as
Big
some affectionately call them.
balls.
We also have Simulacrum. So it looks like Brandon is the Simulacrum master with both Simulacrums in his pool.
That's double Simulacrum. That's tough to beat.
That's especially when you start blinking them. They both do a thing. One gets a land, one's put 2+1/+1 counters.
Another great card to blink is one from the Lord of the Rings Middle Earth expansion, Rosie of South Cotton Lane.
Yeah, Rosie Cotton.
Rosie Cotton of South Lane.
You're basically there.
So many words on
Yeah.
that one.
So Rosie Cotton, there she makes the food. Well, she's the barkeep. She's the barkeep of the tavern there in the Shire.
Wow.
Now,
More to know.
Samwise Gamgee, known from Samwise Gamgee combo deck.
Is this his wife?
At the end of the story, they do end up together and have a child.
We
Yes.
got him.
Have more than one. Yeah, Rosie Cotton.
I was legitimately asking a question. I didn't know the answer.
Oh, well, that's what I'm here for.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yep. So Rosie Cotton, she looks kind of unassuming, just a 1/1 for a 3 that makes the food. But in this token-rich environment, she can get real big, or other creatures can get real big, real hurry when she's feeds them some yummy food from the tavern.
Yeah, a lot of tokens.
Asika's Chariot.
Oh wow. Okay, Brandon's deck had some bangers hiding out in the back there, and it looks like we have premium removal spell Prismatic Ending that was not taken by Dom. Is that what it looks like?
Yeah, that sounds about right. We also have Censor in the form of a counterspell. Yeah, Prismatic Ending. That looks like
Maybe.
it matches that art.
It could be. I'm going to say that it is, and we're going to continue on. So we're looking at a Bant Blink deck, which is definitely a supported archetype in this cube, and something that is quite powerful if you can get it going with little resistance early in the game.
Yep. So if you notice, Brandon and Dom sat across from each other, so they will be playing. And oftentimes in things like this, you see a mirror match on round one because they are the farthest away, so they have the least competition for the cards. So Dom and Brandon both have a lot of green-white cards with the enter the battlefield abilities, but Brandon really zeroed in on the Bant blinking game, and Dom really centered in the land-taking game.
Yes.
Yes.
And I would imagine the concentration of white cards in this cube is going to be seen in this first matchup.
Yeah.
Because these are the two white heaviest decks, no doubt, based on the number of cards that are in this cube. And I do want to point something out going away from Brandon. We see on the left, and the person building, that is Mike Kirby, the designer of the cube.
There he is.
I'm actually excited to see if he can prove his own mettle with his creation and do well in this draft.
Yeah,
Tough competition to do it.
It's really tough. And, a lot of times when you're drafting your own cube, you often don't draft to win. You draft to explore maybe an underappreciated or utilized archetype. And so that's oftentimes cube design, at least what I do all the time. I never draft to win in my cube. But here at CubeCon, there's a lot of stake. There's a pin that says you trophied and there's perhaps do you make it into day 3 with the top 64 draft to qualify for a top 8 draft and try to take down Caleb Durward, the defending champion of CubeCon.
Yeah, and Caleb is fighting hard. We know that Dom's undefeated on the day.
He's got the competition has really heated up here in this cube. We've got Dom Harvey, 9-0 or something like that on the weekend, X-0.
Yeah.
Mike Kirby, his own cube. So there's a lot of awesome, cool cube action coming. Mole Drifter. Should I say any more?
No, you don't need to. We can end the broadcast,
If you've ever had 7 mana,
but we won't.
well, I'm sure everyone at home thanks you for that. So if we ever have Mole Drifter on turn 7, you evoke it, then you cast Restoration Angel and blink it. You draw 4 cards, 5 power.
Yeah.
Pass the turn.
You're living good.
What are they going to do? Nothing. You've drawn 4 cards.
Yeah. That's what are they can't even what are they cast Ancestral Recall? That's only 3 cards.
That's a great opportunity.
Oh, so Brandon v.
Tidings.
Dom is what we're going to see in this first round. So how is this matchup going to go? It looks like Brandon's curve actually quite low. We got a lot of 1s, 2s, and 3s, even though we got some power at the 4 and the 5 drop spot. But Brandon going to get off to the races pretty quick establishing his board. Is that going to cause problems for Dom, who is going to spend time setting up his mana potentially?
Yeah, so Brandon also, I think he has probably the longer end game. So I would imagine Brandon's the control deck. He's got Mole Drifter, he's got Lona's Cryptozoologist for the super late game. And while Dom has a lot of good mana efficacy and some good threats, it looks like Brandon is definitely will be the control deck and is hoping to gum up the ground and then get some value out of these blink synergies. But you know, Brandon also has Delighted Halfling, so also has some mana creatures on his own, along with that wild growth that we see up there.
Right. And that's going to do a lot of work to let Brandon jump from 1 to 3, which is really when his game plan for blinking starts to develop.
Yep. A lot of blink cards start at 3. Blink kind of is a 3 to 5 range
Right.
of cards, so you kind of want to set up. And Dom knows he's been around before, so it's really going to be heads up on Dom to see, oh, should I kill this thing, kill this guy main phase with an instant? So does it get blunked? The past term of blink is blunk.
It is it? Okay.
Yep.
The more you know.
That's the more you know. So I love watching blink decks play because there's so much play to them. You can eke out these synergies. Maybe you just sorcery speed your Restoration Angel. Maybe you Lorne and you activate it before you blink and you blow up another artifact like a Feldar Retreat or some other enchantment artifact. So I'm really excited to see these kind of similar decks go up against each other and see where the skill can come to the top and the players can, for once and on all, decide who's best at the Creative Cube here at CubeCon in Madison, Wisconsin at GameholeCon.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was a lot of words.
I really think that Dom had a critical moment in his draft about halfway through. It was the Luminarch Aspirant pick when he passed on it. Basically saying, I have a lot of potentially aggressive cards, but they're around 3 mana.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to try to get a little smaller? Or do I want to say, well, you know what? Maybe I want to explore things that are going to go bigger, a little more colors. He passed the Aspirant. He did end up with the
Yoshimaru.
Yoshimaru.
His partner.
Such a good boy.
Yeah, the best boy. Well, we've got Yoshimaru. We also have Isamaru. Alert the guards. The Kami are coming.
Yeah. It's alert. Is it alert the men?
Well, it used to be. Now it's alert the guards.
The more you know. My good friend Stephen Green, that's his favorite flavor text in all of Magic.
Can he recite it all?
Yeah, he can. I don't know it all, but he can.
Well, I know it all, but I will not be reciting it all here.
Okay, great. So Brandon just double checking.
Wow. Night of Autumn, anyway.
Yeah, we also have a Landwar Visionary as well.
One of my favorite cards, Llanowar Visionary. It draws a
Right.
card that adds mana. What more do you want in Magic besides the word draw
Man,
and the word add?
Seaga's Chariot too. That just being able to be blunk, that's the right term.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Being able to blink that, to make it blunk, to create 2 more kitty cat tokens. I'm really liking Brandon's deck, and we haven't seen Dom's build. He has a lot of options. We know he's going to be heavy into white. We know he's going to be touching into green, probably touching into blue, which is sounding a lot like a Bant mirror when I say it out loud.
It sure does, Justin.
But I'm curious, and this would be kind of the opposite of what I would expect from Dom based on his draft. Do you think it's possible he scales back some amount of lands he drafted because he ended up he didn't necessarily need
All those
all of
lands.
those colors,
Mhm.
right? He didn't need. He's not able to take full advantage of all those colors, and he's sacrificing a lot of speed to maybe be able to fix his mana unnecessarily, perhaps.
Sure, but when you have infinite mana like Dom can make, you want those triomes so you can cycle through them. When you have Felidar Retreat, you want those fetch lands so you can make more cat
Right.
token, cat beasts.
Well, he's gonna play all those fetch lands.
Well, sure. But there is that world. It also depends how aggressive his opponent is. Dom doesn't know Brandon is kind of a more mid-range blinky thing. So I think I would start all the lands if I were Dom, which I'm not. I'm here, he's there. That'd be
Right.
crazy if they're the same person.
He's 9-0. You're 0 something.
Excuse me. So here we go. I drafted this cube before coming here with you, Justin. Can you guess my record?
Can I guess your record?
Yes.
4-0.
Well, it was only 3 rounds,
Well, that was my
so
guess.
that's really hard. So I went 0, 2, and 1.
Okay.
Well, the 1 was because I wanted to watch the other decks being played,
Right.
and so my opponent and I
Doing your
agreed to draw.
homework.
Well, I also got 1 point, which puts me above Jonathan Brostoff, the CubeCon organizer.
He's got 0 points.
0 points.
Yeah.
So, scoreboard, 1 point. Anyway, I drafted this cube, and it actually turned out to be a lot more aggressive than I realized. I was playing Alondra, the merfolk that makes drakes. She costs 4 mana. And I was playing kind of a Grixis dirtily spells, as I want to do, as many people are want to do. It's not just me. I'm not crazy.
There's dozens of us.
There's dozens of us. Here at CubeCon, there are probably 5 dozens of us, I'd say, maybe more. Yes, Alondra Skydreamer, that card, the art is awesome. And trying to make these cool, fun synergies. And my opponent was like Yoshimaru, ever faithful, bringing these fast, hard-hitting creatures, white and black and red, and coming at me before I could even stabilize and do my cool stuff. Because I plan a little bigger. When you play the Live the Dream Cube all the time, you tend to think your opponent won't play anything before turn 4.
Right. You're like, I got time.
I have time. Turns
got
out
time.
that was not the case. And I don't think Brandon or Dom will let their opponents, which is each other, have that time to set up these crazy synergies.
Well, we are getting ready. It looks like our drafters are finishing their builds. So we're going to are we ready to are they ready to play or are we going to be taking a break? We'll let production let us know. But Dom, I think, is probably going to be playing most of his white cards. I would imagine that that's what we're going to see when we come back from
Yeah,
break.
I would imagine both players are playing most of their white cards.
Well, we know that Brandon is.
Yes.
But I think that Dom, having access to so many things, I think he's going to cut back and actually going to be very, very heavy into white. That's my guess.
Well, once we're going to head out to break just a couple minutes. When we get back, make sure you stick around so you can watch these white creatures duke it out. Blink versus infinite mana and all the kinds of white creatures here at CubeCon in Madison, Wisconsin. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to CubeCon 2023. We are in Draft 3 of Day 2, Round 1 for the Creative Cube. We are going to be looking at Dom Harvey, who we watched draft moments ago. Dom is currently undefeated in matches, not on the day, which he is.
He is.
The ones that count, but also yesterday in our exhibition match against England.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, yes, he was playing for England against Wisconsin in the grudge match.
Yeah, but couldn't quite get there. He got there just fine.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
scoreboard for Wisconsin, unfortunately.
I fought Wisconsin last year.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
It wasn't near as close as Dom's team.
No, technically you were supposed to stop it at 5 victories.
Well, we kept going because we're all or nothing type of bunch, us Watsy folk. We went 0-9 last year.
Which is astounding. I've actually never seen a 3v3 draft go 0-9.
I mean, that's the kind of entertainment we provide.
And I appreciate that.
Can nobody defeat Wisconsin at Cube? Calling everyone out there, come to CubeCon next year.
Look,
try to bring them down. They're too good.
I might be forming my own team next year.
Really?
Yeah. Team North Carolina.
North Kakalaki?
Yeah, I could technically claim Virginia too, but I feel like I got to go back to my roots.
Well, if we have the best and brightest in North Carolina, I'd imagine you'd be leading that up.
We got a handful.
And if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I'd bet on Wisconsin. Wait.
Wow.
North Carolina.
Unbelievable.
You're with me right now, so I will say North Carolina.
Well, you already said how you really feel, and we're going to find out how we feel when we see Dom take on Brandon, who's playing Bant Blink.
Bant Blink.
That's
Blink
right.
Bant.
Blink Bant. It is you blink and then you blunk after.
Yeah, he's playing Wet Selesnya?
No.
No?
Absolutely not.
Mossy Azorius?
Wait,
no?
The Bant is not good enough? It's so simple. It's 4 letters.
Yeah, but it's so close to Blink Bant.
That's exactly why it's great.
Yeah, and then Dom, meanwhile, is also playing, what, white, green, maybe some blue?
White, green, maybe some blue. I would say he probably is going to have in his deck over the course of the 2 or 3 games all 5 different card colors because he's drafted them all and he has access to them all. So if he needs to pop in to grab a black card or a red card, oh, that's something he's easily capable of doing with his mana base.
Carrying feeder could be coming out, could be coming in.
I would say that one's unlikely.
Sure. We have Boromir could come in.
Boromir
he's
could
blue.
come in. Yeah.
He's white and blue.
Yeah, helps that Yoshi.
Let's just stop where you're ahead.
The dog.
The dog. The dog with partner.
The goodest boy that I know.
Yoshimaru.
I don't know why I can't get that.
Well, there's a lot of cards out there.
There certainly are
more
a lot of
every
cards
day.
out there.
We keep
There
making them.
literally are more every day.
Yeah.
I went onto Twitter and I'm like, there's Fallout cards now.
Well, that was your first mistake.
Going on Twitter? Yeah, well.
But yeah,
it's a sickness, folks.
Yeah. So, some of the Fallout cards look very sweet for Cube, I will say.
I saw one. I'm gonna see if I can. Also a mistake, but I'm gonna try to find. It was a white, black, and red legend that seemed like it really likes tokens and drawing cards and sacrificing things.
Sure. Well, once I see it's from an official WotC source, I would be love to talk about it with you.
No problem, no problem. And I'm sure that it is as I scroll through Twitter, but I'm not gonna find it. But you know what? I liked that card, and I was like, this looks like a very, very sweet Cube card. You know, as it turns out, a lot of people are tweeting today about CubeCon.
CubeCon.
Because there's 400 people here that are playing Cube right now in the same place. That is amazing.
There are 400 people, which means you need 50 cubes for these 8-player drafts.
That's what we have.
We have
50 cubes.
I think there's 50 cubes being fired right now, and that's so many cubes. And of all the cubes to look at, we're going to right now take a look at the creative cube as Dom Harvey versus Brennan Kupletti begins now.
And it looks like Dom has kept his hand pretty solidly.
Yeah, well,
Feels good about it.
Yep.
Starting off with a Verdant Catacombs, as we know, was going to always make his deck, no matter what.
Sure, and Brennan looks like he's got a Temple Garden and a Windswept Heath. He's got them both, or 2 Temple Gardens. Windswept Heath and Temple Garden. So green and white. No blue for that sensor, but maybe that
I bet that Windswept Heath's going to find something. We got a sparse headquarters in Brandon's deck, so.
Oh, so here it looks like both players will probably be opening onto Fetchland into Triome.
Classic.
Get used to that being cube, Justin, because that's how it's going to be.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Are you a pro or anti-Triome person?
Pro. But you know what? Dom is anti-Triome for this first turn. Coming to play tapped. Does that mean he
boarded them out or didn't play them?
Might not have Triomes in his deck.
Well, he went Verdant Catacombs into Overgrown Room, which is pretty boring, honestly, Dom. Could you kick it up a notch and have some cool colors? And he's casting Glimmer Lens.
He's kicking it up a notch a little bit.
Yep, so this is a 2-2. I mean, what is it for?
For Mirrodin.
There it is. Take that, Phyrexian Resistance. We have Glimmer Lens, so it's a 2-2. And when you attack with it and another creature, you'll draw a card. All you have to do is attack, draw a card.
And it looks like we have a cat there, but I assure you it's a rebel. It is a
red rebel.
A red rebel in cat's clothing.
That's correct. Not only is rebel red, but with the rebel yell, it says draw, draw, draw.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was good. I got to give it to you.
So here we do have Spar's headquarters. You were right, Justin. I know you love hearing that. So now Brandon will have Sensor live. So
that's why I'm in the booth.
That's why you're here. So it'll be up to Brandon if he wants to maybe deploy a threat or keep that Sensor up. And then it's up to Dom Harvey if he can play around the Sensor, which, you know, it's the Force Spike of 2017, I want to say, when it came out.
That's pretty solid. I'll take it.
Thanks.
So, yeah, I think that we are very likely is potentially, there we go, get that Rebel in there,
the game state has been maintained.
Because we didn't see a Triumph, and we know Dom has multiple Triumphs, it does lead me to believe that they are not present. And we have a Plains into a Ranger class. So we're going to see tokens butting heads against each other as this comes with a 2/2 Wolf.
Awoo.
Awoo on level 1.
Yep. So the Ranger, known D&D characters such as Minsk and Dritz Do Erden are all Rangers. So they come with wolves, and it looks like Dom just they traded. Dom attacked for 2. The wolf on Rebel Crime, and Dom answered with a Chatterfang.
Chatterfang has Forest Walk, which means for the rest of this game, unless something happens to that Sparse headquarters, is likely going to be unblockable. Unblockable. That's not something you see very often.
That ain't bad. And so Brandon's 2G answer to the 3/3 is a 2/2. It can be blocked, but can also add mana and draw a card. So you kind of have already an aggressive stint versus a control stint, because that Ranger class, a lot of mana can be pumped into it, and then eventually you're casting creatures at the top, you're doing crazy things. So we have already established who's the beatdown, and it's Dom Harvey.
That's right, and likely will be, as this Chatterfang is going to be unblockable likely for the rest of the game until it leaves the battlefield. Dom going to be really looking for some token makers, as Chatterfang will provide you with squirrels if you provide Chatterfang with any other token.
Any other token, creature tokens, non-creature tokens, anything. But Dom did pass turn 4 with nothing up, and Brandon's will be casting Solemn Simulacrum, first of his 2 Simulacrums, to try to find another land.
And Brandon going to go ahead and shortcut to say, I'm going to play this tapped land, Celestial Colonnade, and pass, but we are going to see the Wandering Emperor going to make a token at the end of Brandon's turn, and is going to bring along a squirrel friend with it.
Squirrel buddy, if you do speak squirrel. Wow, how dare you say that? On air? Wow.
They might bleep it.
Okay.
I hope we don't get demonetized.
I'm sure it'll be just fine. So Dom Harvey looked like he didn't have anything, but both players are casting a 2-mana spell, a 3-mana spell, a 4-mana spell, and that's exactly what you want to be doing in Cube or in Magic the Gathering. I heard an adage of what's a good rule to follow to win the games of Magic? You use as much mana as you can every turn. And these players are doing exactly that.
Yeah, and the second rule is to simply play the Wandering Emperor in any game of Magic.
That's true.
Well, and that's what Tom's done.
I mean, Brandon Kublete played the most played creature in Commander, kind of a cube-oriented format, in the form of Solemn Simulacrum.
Yeah.
Number 1, most played.
Yeah, I would argue it's the greatest creature for Commander of all time.
I would also argue with that and agree with you.
Great. That sounds perfect.
Yep. Love to argue.
So we're likely going to see this Wandering Emperor tick down to make another creature. And the first thing we're going to do is see this Shimmerlands suit up to draw Dom a card, come in the red zone for 3 unblockable damage, as well as a 2/2 Vigilant creature here, which Brandon's going to say, yeah, I'll take a card, as Solemn Simulacrum dies, and we'll draw a card for Brandon's troubles. Well, he'll take 2 less, but going to be tough to fight down this army of squirrels. We have black up to sacrifice some squirrels, maybe take down one of Brandon's creatures, as that's one of Chatterfang's abilities. And this has already put Brandon on the back foot. Chatterfang just alone, but certainly in combination with the Wandering Emperor.
Yep. So a lot of Brandon's plays add mana and draw cards, but Dom Harvey's cards attack. And not only do they attack, they can also sometimes draw a card in the form of that Glimmerlands, but he's being creative here and making tokens with other cards that say, when you make a token, make a token. So right now, Dom is showing what this cube is all about in terms of these little synergies that has got him in the position he's in. He's ahead on board. He's about even on cards. He's ahead on life total. He's kind of in the driver's seat, and Brandon really needs to find some cool synergies and some little ways to get ahead, because he's letting down some squirrels, some samurais, and some rebels.
Well, Brandon really needs to get his blink going. That's actually been completely absent from his game plan in this game so far. We know he has a lot of that in his deck, but has not been able to cast a card that exiles something and return it to the battlefield. And we're not going to see it now, as we're going to see a Generous Int that's going to bring along 2 food tokens with it.
Yeah, so Generous Int is a large boy, large int. The int home is here, and the Generous Int has arrived. It doesn't actually impact the board a whole much, besides being a large creature. However, this Chatterfang has become friendly with some bird lures of Streets of New Capenna, and knows how to get right in there to attack Brandon's life points directly.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big problem, especially in combination with this Glimmerlands that's now. Oh, that is.
Yep. So the problem
That's a rough one.
The problem with Generous Int is it's 6 mana, 5/7.
Yeah.
And that's really bad against 1 mana removal spells in the form of Path to Exile.
Right. So Brandon decided to cast Generous Int rather than cycle it to get a land, and Dom said, I would rather have you had cycled it, so let me help you.
Yep. Very generous guy, Dom Harvey.
Yeah, really.
Nice guy.
Yeah, Generous Dom is what it should be renamed to.
Well, it's still 3 characters.
And Dom playing. Okay, if we know the Mishra's Factory is here, we know 100% sure that the Mutavault is here. So we're going to see a significant amount of attacking for Dom. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Going to put Brandon to 3. Dom in the driver's seat. Going to absolutely need to get rid of that Chatterfang, and probably also the Mishra's Factory, because if a sweeper comes along, that simply won't be enough, as the factory's now a 3/3.
Yep. Also, Dom has the Wandering Emperor as another non-creature threat. So Brandon needs to really dig deep into his blink bag of tricks and try to find something to help him survive the oncoming squirrel and samurai army.
But it's got to be really good because it can't have something that has 2 or less toughness because Chatterfang will simply get rid of those squirrels to kill it.
Yeah, it looks like Brandon drew Glass Casket for the turn that made it all the way around to him. I mean, that's a fine spell. It can kill the Chatterfang, it can kill a Samurai, but it can't quite kill everything. And yeah, Brandon's going to be cycling that Sensor, really looking for something good. And he found Restoration Angel.
That's a good one.
This is probably one of the best creatures in Brandon's deck. It pressures Planeswalkers. It can come out, ambush an attacker. It can blink that Llanowar Visionary to draw another card. But we're not quite sure if it's going to be quite enough for Brandon to survive this Squirrel Onslaught.
Yeah, but we're finally going to see this Chatterfang likely get put in a casket here made of glass because that's likely going to be the only way that Brandon has to interact with it. And it's going to have to come at sorcery speed.
That's true. So Chatterfang just cannot be stopped, not while the headquarters are on the battlefield. So it looks like Brandon will be attacking the Wandering Emperor for 2. Looks like the Samurai will jump in the way to defend against the Elf. And here we see probably the Glass Casket because Brandon has to do something. That Chatterfang cometh.
Right, and retapping his mana, that blue was tapped from earlier in the turn, so we lost the green that the Wild Growth made, but we're still going to tap 2 lands to get rid of that. And this is actually a critical mistake for Brandon because, okay, now he has a land drop. I take it back. He almost went down to under 4 lands to be able to play this this Restoration Angel. Now, the only problem is if Dom puts a +1/+1 counter on a squirrel and attacks, Restoration Angel simply won't save Brandon because at least 3 damage is going to come across the red zone.
Yeah, so right now Dom is aware of that. He's trying to think what all outs Brendan has and why he shouldn't just activate that Mishra's Factory, activate that Wandering Emperor, and do exactly what you just said. But it looks like that might be what he's doing. There can only be so many things your opponents can do for 4 mana to stop 2 various lethal creatures. Yep, here comes the Glimmerlands on the squirrel. It looks like Dom has the mana.
See. We're
here
going
comes,
upstairs.
Here comes the counter. Yep,
we are going upstairs.
Oh, upstairs. Knock, knock. Who's home? It's a squirrel.
Yeah. And Restoration Angel going to answer the door, but is still going to be unprepared for what's on the other side.
Yep. So right now, if I was Brandon, I just wouldn't even cast this Restoration
No, you just
Angel.
scoop it up. You gotta. That's a very critical card to keep a secret going into game 2.
Yes. Yeah, so Brandon could also crack the food token, but still not going to be enough, and Brandon's going to pack it in while Dom Harvey takes game 1 in the Creative Cube.
Right, yeah. The food token's just going to get you to 6 life, which is exactly how much Dom was attacking for. So not exactly going to make it here, but, you know, very close to Brandon being able to untap and turn the corner, but Dom was able to deal so much damage with that Chatterfang.
Yep, so this match was really great, and both players basically spent all their mana every turn, which means they're kind of even, right? Brandon's strategy is blink. So you play a creature with an enter the battlefield ability, play another creature, it's got stats, you blink it, get some value there. He wasn't quite able to get that strategy off. Meanwhile,
Really?
Dom has Chatterfang, which says when you make tokens, make more tokens. Dom had Glimmerlands. This is when you attack with another creature, draw some cards. So Dom was able to employ these creative synergies and leverage his deck just enough to defeat Brandon before he get his blink synergies online.
These small interlocking combinations. We had all the token synergy going across multiple things. We had, gosh, just Wandering Emperor. It's not really a synergy
Wandering
card.
Emperor
It's,
with
you know,
2 planes and 2 other lands, that's a synergy.
that is synergy. That's one of my favorite combinations. One of my favorite combo decks I used to call Jund in standard combo deck. The combo was Savage Lands, Verdant Catacombs, Putrid Leech.
Ooh,
That's a good 3-card combo. It wins you a lot of games.
Yeah, my combo in that format was Island Spreading Seas.
Yeah, well, I didn't like that one.
Well, then my opponent would bring in a Nicol Bolas Planeswalker from the board in a deck with no blue creating mana sources.
Well, you provided it for him.
Yeah, that got me pretty good one time
Yeah.
with the PTQ.
So if I was looking to sell my Magic cards, you know what I would do? I would go to cardconduit.com, which is the easiest way to sell your extra Magic cards. You can simply ship them your unsorted cards, and Card Conduit will sort and grade them and find you the best buy list price in their major retail network. You're paid the total sum, and Card Conduit only takes a small fee for doing all of the work, or you're getting the best price for your cards. Go to cardconduit.com to get started. And you know what? You can just turn those cards into other Magic cards for your cube. That's what I do.
Cubes have a lot of cards in them.
They sure do, and you need them.
Yeah, a lot of cubes are a 360 minimum. It's kind of the normal, but a lot of times you need 540.
Yeah,
That's a lot of cards.
it is.
And I'm sure if you made a cube, you'd have, I don't know, 100 lands or so in a 360 cube.
Like 80, really.
I mean, Dom Harvey would probably ride there with you based on the number of lands he picked in that draft.
Absolutely. But I think, we have seen that Dom did actually forego a lot of those lands,
Yep.
as I predicted. I thought that he was going to say, you know what, I really have a lot of these white cards, and I think that is my best way to leverage what I have drafted. And Dom, we only saw white and green cards in that game.
Yeah, I mean, the Mishra's Factory is a land that did swing for lethal.
It did, and he proved me wrong, and he has that and Mutavault. So we definitely are going to see a lot of punching going on from the mana base, which is, I called him a madman, but he's up a game, and I'm sitting in the booth.
I mean, he's never been down a game this whole weekend.
He has not. He's not starting now. He's like, well, I gotta make sure on coverage that this is not when this train ends, and we're gonna go back to the game and see if Dom can close this one out against Brandon Cupoletti.
So Brennan's on the play. Looks like he's got a Llanowar Visionary along with a Smuggler's Copter, and that's a pretty good combo. Copter. Oh, he's also got Arkham's Astrolabe.
I love that one.
Yep. So this will fix his mana up just right up. Cantrip, be great.
Maybe get him to a Yorion that can draw him a card later with the Astrolabe.
Yep.
Hello.
So Brandon's got his whole curve filled out. Meanwhile, Dom answers with the Noble Hierarch. So it doesn't add any color like Astrolabe, but it adds an additional green, white, or blue mana.
Yeah, I think I'd take that.
Blight and Drought, not really a thing happening in this match or in Dom's Harvey's deck, just like good green, blue, and white cards. And here comes the Smuggler's Copter.
I wouldn't be surprised if Noble Hierarch was paired with its good buddy Ignoble Hierarch, despite Dom not being able to take much advantage of the green and red mana it provides. But I bet the green on its own is good. And we see this 15th pick.
Yes.
Briarbridge Tracker. I want to point that out. It is a 4/3 as long as Dom controls a token. He does because it investigates upon entering the battlefield, but I bet Dom's going to find some other tokens to make in his deck to provide that 2 additional power.
True. Dom also played a Mishra's Factory in turn 2, and you don't often see these creature lands being played this early unless maybe you don't have a lot of lands in your hand, because you kind of want those lands that produce color mana out early, and then you play the factory later on and then get in there. So maybe Dom is representing a hand without a lot of lands in it, or maybe he just wants to attack for 2 on turn 3 with this Mishra's Factory.
That could be true. And we are going to see the rarely seen Night of Autumn mode of destroy an artifact and also give a creature permanently -2/-0, which is really great.
Yeah, now that's a little unfortunate because the Briarbridge Tracker, which was answered by the Knight of Autumn, the Briarbridge Tracker is still a 2/3 no matter what, and Vigilance. So the 2/1 Knight of Autumn can't quite tangle with the Human Scout in combat.
Well, nothing can tangle with the Smuggler's Copter, which came in through the air for 3 over to Dom, drawing and discarding for Brandon. He got rid of that generous int.
It was very generous of this int to take one for the team.
It really was. And there it is.
You were right.
Partner in crime, Ignoble Hierarch coming down, paired with a Huntsman Redemption.
The Huntsman's Redemption.
Love it. Comes with a 3/3 Beastie Boy. And we're going to see Dom serve in for 2 with that Briarbridge Tracker, which has Vigilance.
Not only for 2, but there are 2 exalted creatures on the board.
Oh, sorry, for 4. He just made a token.
Yeah, so
he just made a token.
There's a lot. There's a lot
6.
of
6. I'm here.
Yeah, there's a lot. So when you have exalted 1, that's okay. But the more exalted you have, the more dangerous it gets. Hopefully, Dom Harvey isn't packing Finest Hour in this deck, or the game would be over so quickly.
It would. But, yeah, we saw that. You got rid of my 1 token. I really wanted that token. I needed that for some extra power, so I'm going to make 1. And now it's a 3/3 threat, too. Dom, already so early in this game, putting a significant amount of pressure onto Brandon. Now, we know Brandon is going to keep attacking with that Smuggler's Copter. You absolutely need to do that if that's on the board. Unblockable 3 damage most of the time. Going to draw and let you discard. Hopefully find some of that blink theme you have going on. But Brandon has some blue cards in his hand, like this Malevolent Hermit, but no blue mana to speak of outside of the Astrolabe.
Yep, along with a Lonus Cryptozoologist, so there's a breeding pool. So Brandon does have some things he can do. However, Dom Harvey has gotten ahead so far on the board because of that Ignoble and Noble Hierarch, giving Dom enough mana to play these more creatures. Brandon has 1 advantage, and it's attacking in the air for 3. So Brandon's really looking for a card like Restoration Angel or other flying white creatures to let him blink that Knight of Autumn, maybe gain some more life, or even destroy that Huntsman's Redemption.
Yeah, that might be a good one. But Brandon here is going to take 2 from this breeding pool. Not nothing.
Not nothing.
By the way, when you've already been attacked 1 time for 6.
Well, taking 10% of your life total with the Shockland, can add up when your opponent's attacking green and white, playing green and white creatures that attack for lots of big damage.
Yeah, we're gonna play the Solemn Simulacrum to go grab another basic land from our deck, and provide a blocker that will get us a card later on. Dom, on the other hand, gonna go to Chapter 2 for the Huntman's Redemption, sacrifice Ignoble Hierarch, and search for any creature in his deck.
Any creature, and we're in the draw step right now, and Dom did float a mana from that Ignoble Hierarch. Probably not a red. We'll go with green.
I think we're in the main phase.
Main phase? Great, then he has the mana, and he can
does.
even play a creature with that mana that Dom got from the Ignoble Hierarch.
Yeah. So we're cutting Brandon's deck after the search, and Dom's still considering what he really wants. And this is how we're really going to be able to see what Dom values highly. I would not be surprised to see Chatterfang, because it is going to essentially be an unblockable 3/3 that's going to provide a bunch of squirrels over the course of the game, as we know that Dom is leaning hard into the token theme as he constructed his deck.
Yeah, Brandon's trying to attack in the air with this copter, one of the greatest vehicles ever made in that first batch of vehicles. Meanwhile, Dom's like, you know what's better than flying? Unblockable.
Yeah.
So, I can't block your flyer, but you can't block this squirrel at all. But instead,
Boromir?
Dom is looking at Boromir. So Brandon's also going to be looking at the Boromir card.
And so are we.
And so are we. Right you are.
So Boromir
Gondor's Hope.
Boromir Gondor's Hope. It's a 3/4 for 2 white and blue whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks.
Time trigger.
Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You can reveal a human or artifact from among them, put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. But, you know what we got? We have a Felidar Retreat, and then a fetch land to double trigger it. Going to make at least 1 cat. And then are we going to see a second cat, or are we going to see a bunch counters go across Dom's board?
Yeah, so Felidar Retreat, it looks pretty good. But, when you really are dressed to the nines and you're dressed like to go to prom or something, you want to have that nice dress or that tux on. The tux or dress for Felidar Retreat is a fetch land.
Yes, it is.
So you want to play that Felidar Retreat and then play your land drop, fetch land, make 2 cat beasts, or put 2+1 counters on all your creatures.
And Dom's not done. Oh, he got an untapped land. He's still got 2 mana with this Noble Hierarch. He's like, I got 2 cats, but that doesn't mean I'm finishing this off.
No, there's more. There's more where that came from.
Nah. We're gonna see the remainder of what Dom is gonna do to press all of this stuff. Oh, are we okay? So we are activating. And then putting 2 counters. No cats.
No cats.
No cats. Not a single cat was heard this day.
Dom's a dog guy right now.
And it looks like, does Dom need to potentially have another mana? I'm not entirely sure, but you know what? We'll let them handle it down on the floor. I would be under the impression that he would need to tap 2 for that Mishra's Factory and 4 for the Felidar Retreat. But we will see. Either way, he's going to come into the red zone for 6 damage. Brandon again on the back foot after essentially giving a permanent +2/+2 to all of his creatures, including that Mishra's Factory on the bottom. So even if a sweeper were to happen, still very much in the danger zone for Brandon.
Yep, and so not only do these counters did so much damage to Brandon, but they have Vigilance. So it looks like Brandon's probably retreating into his deck and looking for some way to survive this onslaught that's been boosted by these Felidar Retreat. And the next turn, the Huntsman's Redemption will be even more damage on these creatures.
And we see an Asika's Chariot from Brandon try to gum up the ground a little bit. Also, Dom had the mana from Ignoble Hierarch, as we noted earlier. That was the one. That was the piece that was missing.
Yeah. We got a flitter over here. That Hierarch, it did its job. It taps for his mana, and it's like, you know what? I'm going to look for a friend. And
something that might struggle to do its job right now is Smuggler's Copter. Not a great blocker. Not a great blocker.
Well, you still get the trigger, even on block.
Right. Well, the trigger goes on the stack, but if you're dead at the same time, it doesn't resolve.
Well, a death trigger on the stack, you see. You wait, and you can be at -5, and then,
right.
maybe you draw a card the next time you play that opponent.
Yeah.
You float the draw.
Right. That's how that's
exactly how that works.
Okay, so Dom has 4 attackers.
The workshop, the factory, the workshop, the Mishra land.
The factory.
The factory has woken up. The workers are in. And it looks like Brandon Dom will be seeing about where that Huntsman Redemption's triggers go.
Which is a +3/+3 and trample?
I believe it's +2/+2.
Okay. That might be enough no matter what. And we're going to target the Beast, I believe, with the Huntsman's Redemption trigger. And Dom is going to help us out with some dice, potentially, to find that. Oh, up to 2 creatures. So we are choosing, and Dom's going to show us, like, just the most helpful
Wow.
Magic player of all time.
This is very generous.
He is going to show us the 2 creatures, and then we're going to get another +1/+1 counter on all of our lands. And
Take 'em up.
Brandon is going to
Take 'em up.
he's going to demise
Take
here.
'em up.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brandon's got 2 vehicles. Not always great to block because you have to tap some creatures to do it. And no matter how Brandon soaks this block up, it looks like he has a maximum of, let's see, 7 toughness on 5. And, yeah, that's just not going to be enough. We'll let Brandon figure out exactly how the math works because they are 4 blockers, and that's exactly what Brandon's doing.
That's what they say. I'm glad I'm not Brandon because I honestly wouldn't want to do this math, and probably would just retreat through the power of this Felder retreat. But Brandon's going to check it out, make sure all the options, cycle this Sensor. Maybe there's a 1/0 mana spell in Brandon's deck that can help him get out of this.
He does draw Reflector Mage, which would have been very nice in the last turn. Really nice in the last turn. But we have, let's see, so 3, 6, 8 trample, 10 trample. We have like 20 trample damage coming, almost 20, 16 trample damage coming through.
It's it's something like that. Man, Dom still has the Wandering Emperor. All this gas still in the tank. But
yeah, we're going to see the handshake here.
Yep. So this the Feldar retreat was just too much for Brandon to handle, and Dom's going to take that match down in 2 games, still maintaining his undefeated record here at CUBECON.
Yeah, he is Caleb. I don't know.
Watch out.
Yeah, shaking in his boots. He's
Watch
out.
out.
He's out here somewhere. Caleb's putting it down. He's not going to go down without a fight, but Dom is coming for that trophy.
He's got his eyes on the prize.
Yeah, and the other person that might have their eyes on the prize is the people that we're going to go to in our backup match, which is going to be Mike Kirby, the owner and creator of the Cube, against Kevin Craig.
Yes, Kevin. So Kevin versus Mike. So we've already started. It looks like Mike is playing a black-white, perhaps Aristocrats deck. There is a Dread Wanderer in play, the 2-1 that can come back. Then we look over here at Kevin is playing a blue-green X, maybe Teamer, sort of big mana deck right here, right now. And this creature's rumbling in there to get Kirby down. But Kevin is only at 8. But it looks like Kirby is kind of running out of gas as he's only got 3 lands untapped, but still at least 1 card in his hand. So here, it looks like Song of the Dryads from Kevin came down and took out one of Kirby's threats.
Not sure what it's on, but I know what it is now. That's a forest.
It's forest. Makes not a lot of good for Kirby since that will be his 10th, 8th land. So here comes the tenacious underdog. As you can see, he is very tenacious. Comes out, attacks Kevin for 3 and 2.
And Kirby's going to lose 2 life on that blitz, but Kirby is up a game against Kevin here and really applying the pressure with tenacious underdog and our 2-1 friend on the other side. Oh, but we have a Prismari command, likely going to deal 2 damage to something. Kevin deciding exactly what that's going to be.
Yep.
And it's going to be the creature name. I'm sorry, I cannot remember.
The Wandering Dread Wanderer, of course.
Dread Wanderer?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
I know the Oracle text. 2-1 from Am and Ket.
You got
can
it.
return it if you have 1 or less. If you're heck bent.
Oh, heck.
Oh, heck.
Oh, heck.
Now, Kirby's not. He's going to say, oh, heck, because he's got 2 cards in his hand. He's about to have 3 because of this tenacious underdog.
Oh, double heck. So looks like the Mossword Dread Knight that Kevin has in play thought about jumping in front of the tenacious. Yep, there it goes. So they're both will die. However, the Mosswood Dread Knight, much like the tenacious underdog, they both come back. Just like the power of black, tenacity, reanimation, little creatures. Yeah.
I see a good one in Kevin's hand. You see it? See
Oh,
what
I
I'm
see
saying?
it.
That's
Yes.
a Mawlock.
So what doesn't grow dies, and what dies
Grows
is
the
food.
Mawlock?
Grows the Mawlock.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Man,
They've been saying that for years. Ask any Space Marine. They don't want to fight a Mawlock.
no, I wouldn't want to either.
But it looks like Dismember's taking out that final threat that Kevin had. So this is probably dead for now, we hope.
Ooh,
Unearth.
Well, I love an Unearth, and it's going to bring back Vron, which is going to drain 2 every time one of Kirby's creatures dies for the first time that turn.
Yeah, as long as that creature isn't Vron himself.
That's right. Vron is too selfish to say, I will not train myself, but
Well,
you can do the job for me.
Vron is one of the 7 great things of the Black Spheres of New Phyrexia, as we all know.
All right.
So the Thanes try to, rebel against Sheldred, but they didn't work out well for them. Things didn't work out well for Sheldred either.
No,
But,
no.
that's okay. It's a Thane, so a great Thane. So here we are. Kevin has a Moloch and a Stomping Ground. Two great tastes that taste great together.
Which is really important because Kevin needs that red mana to cast that Moloch.
That's true. So it looks like Kevin's almost ready to cast that Moloch with Ravenous, which would draw a card. But instead, Kevin's now wondering, how big should this Moloch be? Should I pay 2 life and go down to 6,
Right.
tie it up, or should I make this slightly larger Moloch? It looks like Kevin's like, you know what? My life total is pretty important against this aggressive black deck.
Kevin's playing it tap, so I'm not exactly sure what's on the Ketria Triome, but I would imagine. Oh, that's a Ketria Triome, so he's got red. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, I didn't want to correct you, but it looks like this Moloch, X equals 3, so 5/5, fight this Vron.
Vron's gone.
And Vron's gone, baby.
He beat me to it.
That's dead. Vron's gone. And here Mike's looking for something to do with this mana other than the 4 mana bring back the Tenacious Undertaker, which would actually be the end of Mike. So there's good news he's doing. So he cast a Ravenous Squirrel.
Yeah, so anytime that something is sacrificed, like Tenacious Underdog at the end of someone's turn, if it blitzed into play, you get a +1/+1 counter on Ravenous Squirrel. But you can also pay 1 black and a green to sacrifice an artifact or a creature to gain a life and draw a card, which is another nice combination with Tenacious Underdog already on the way to its graveyard.
Already. So Mike is going to be probably looking to sacrifice this Wanderer to this Squirrel because he's got to do something. This 5/5 Moloch isn't going to stop. It's going to come through. And
no, but it doesn't have trample, though. It doesn't have trample. So we might see this happen on Kevin's turn because I believe the Dread Wanderer.
It can block.
It can block, but it enters the battlefield tapped. Right.
Well, but it looks like Mike's like, you know what? I kind of want to wait and see if I can draw a sorcery or some sorcery speed threat or removal spell.
Right here, right now. He's going to go to 7 to do it, too.
Oh, yeah. The Squirrel gets him up. Get him up.
Yeah, gain a little bit of life.
Just 1. Extra life.
That's a little bit. You need it
A
every now and then.
little tap will do you.
And the Moloch is a 5/5, so Kirby not in danger as Kevin is not heck bent, but actually hell bent. No cards in his hand, playing off the top of his deck. Kirby is going to play Mikaeus, the Lunarch, as a 4/4, which is going to make Kevin think twice about attacking, no doubt.
Yep. So this Moloch, which is a 5/5, could come in here and probably trade with the Mikaeus. And we're not quite sure if Kevin will want that. It's kind of unsure. So we'll see. Kevin has a big draw step here this turn.
Forest, not quite big enough.
Forest.
Yeah.
Well,
you want to sit on that and think about it? I think about that forest for a second.
Well, sometimes you don't see the
Make
forest.
Kirby think about it.
Sometimes you don't see the forest for the trees.
Well, unfortunately, Kevin's seeing all forest and all trees, and that's really the problem here, as he wanted to see just about anything else.
So now it's up to now. Kevin has a decision. Does he attack with the Moloch and have Kirby? But he's like, you know what? I'm gonna chill. And Kirby's very happy about that.
Yeah, that was a big missed draw step for Kevin, with a chance to turn this game around after the Moloch last turn. But we're likely going to see the Dread Wanderer come back tapped. I would imagine it's not going to hang around too long.
Now that squirrel's looking awfully hungry. He's licking his lips. Yep.
Yeah.
That squirrel's are wants to do. Kirby also playing a Bone Shard.
That was Kirby's draw. That was a much better one.
Yes.
It was so good, it's actually going to kill Kevin, as Tenacious Underdog is going to jump out of the graveyard, cause Kirby 2 life, but he says, you know what, 2 is unnecessary, as I'm going to take down this match and win round 1 with my own cube. He better.
I mean,
he's the master. He's got to prove it.
Well, some may say he's not the Tenacious Underdog that he might be, since he knows the cube. But in this world of Hall of Famers and Pro Tour competitors and Dom Harveys, and
he might be the underdog.
He might be the underdog
yeah,
here. So
that's true.
We're excited to see later on if Mike Kirby can still be winning games of his own cube with his Tenacious Underdog, Ravenous Squirrel, Black White, Obzon Green kind of sacrifice aristocrats brew that he's got cooking up here.
I know. I really want to see more of his deck. Because we got to, we did get to see kind of the core loop of his deck of sacrifice something, bring it back out of the graveyard, something I'm quite fond of. So I'm really happy to see him doing that. Is he going to get a chance to take down Dom Harvey? And I would say Kirby, despite being the creator of the cube, could be the underdog against one of the best Magic players in the entire world.
Yes.
We're going to find out when we come back. Justin Parnell, Dave McDarby here at CubeCon 2023. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere or you'll miss it. We'll see you in just a minute. Welcome back to CubeCon 2023. Justin Parnell, David McDarby here in Madison, Wisconsin. with all of the cubes in the world, okay, maybe not all of them, but a lot of
A
them.
lot of them.
A lot of them.
50 of them. Well, more than that.
More than that. More than 50.
Well, there's 50 in the main event
Yeah.
with 400 people. And there's tons of other cubes happening all around the convention.
That's right. But there's one in the feature match area, and that's the creative cube. Last round, we saw Dom Harvey take his essentially white-green deck after drafting 5 colors and really put the screws to Brandon, his opponent. Dom looking for a continuation of his perfect record on the weekend. He's currently 6-0.
Well,
7-0.
I was going to say, he
I
just
don't wanna-
won.
Yeah, 7-0.
Yeah.
I talked to Dom in between, and Dom did confirm exactly what we were thinking as we watched the draft, and that is, I was planning on having a lot of these
Crazy
lands to be able to, maybe if I found
Yeah.
something in the draft, I'd be able to splash whatever I wanted. And that was his plan. But ultimately, as he was building his deck, he said, you know what?
Well, green one was pretty open.
Take it back to basics.
Yep, like he had the Huntsman's Redemption, which
He
lets
did.
him find any creature in his deck. So he has set himself open to find any creature he could ever find. But the green and white cards kept coming, and in Selesnya Solidarity, he took down Brandon in the last round and is looking to keep doing that to his future opponents in rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, Dom is definitely laser focused on this trophy. Cube is very important to him.
Well,
He loves it.
He loves it. He just top forward Pro Tour Lord of the Rings in Barcelona.
So he is looking to add an accomplishment that is more impressive
Way more
than
impressive.
the Pro Tour top 4.
CubeCon.
As we all know.
That's
Yeah,
CubeCon. There's been a lot of Pro Tours. There's only been 2 CubeCons.
Right.
So that's just way rare trophy to have.
All right, there's only one. And that's Caleb Durward, who is out here somewhere in the midst of 400 cubers on the weekend. And he definitely knows that he has a tough task ahead of him to maintain his trophy.
He's got a target on his back, and Dom is laser focused. So not so great for Caleb, but right now
Dom's more laser focused, honestly, because after yesterday, Dom narrowly losing the Wisconsin versus England grudge match.
Yep. Well,
Caleb won.
There was no trophy for that, and he didn't get any cheese. Reed Duke had the cheese from yesterday.
He did.
The cheese stood alone, and it was Reed Duke.
It was Reed. Off to a good start. This is our 3rd draft of the day, David. So we've had 2 more. Yeah, we know, because it's getting pretty late here. But you know what? We're going to bring you all of the action.
Never stops.
As it continues, and we're ready to continue right now as we're going to go see Dom Harvey against Ian Braverman. Also, Ian was a OG CubeCon attendee from last year as he starts off with a Watery Grave going down to 18 and deploying a Thoughtseize going to 16.
Yep, so this wasn't a Fetch Land Shock Thoughtseize 15, but we do have Shock Land Thoughtseize to 16. So hopefully Dom isn't playing too aggressive this round. But Ian is on blue-black control, so all your usual culprits, and it looks like Ian took a green card from Dom. So I'm sure Dom is very sad that green card is no longer in his hand.
But it's not, and we're going to forget about it for the time being as we see Dom come with a Wooded Foothills, probably going to pick up an Overgrown Tomb, if I were to guess, or a Temple card. Probably, maybe a Temple card.
So Dom is playing a straight green-white deck, but there is a Chatterfang. So Dom maybe is looking for that swamp so he can activate that activation, but he will go with the Temple Garden tapped. Dom did have the option to cast Min the Wilds to bring back one of those cards in his graveyard to the top. Yep, and I think Ian is pointing that out.
Ian's like, you could have done this.
You could have done this. Why? Or maybe Dom is doing that, and he took 2. We'll find out. No. So Ian is just letting him know that, you could cast your spell.
The Wilds will remain unmended for now.
I mean, the Wilds escaped, and then they're trying to get mended, but Dom's like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to play on turn 2 another card.
The Wilds have been through a lot, man.
I mean, that's wild.
It's wild, man.
That's wild. So Dom does have the option for a Hangerback Walker for 1, but instead he'll play the card he drew, which is Devoted Druid.
Right.
So this card is an 0-2, but lets Dom hit to 5 mana on turn 3. However, Dom has another card that lets him enchant his own Devoted Druid.
Swift reconfiguration, which he won't get the chance to, as Murderous Rider is going to go on an adventure. And he says Swift End or Swift Reconfiguration.
How about
Swift End instead?
We're doing Swift Tripal here at CubeCon. We're doing everything Swift, and I'm sure the players doing things swiftly. All of us folks back in production are very happy for that.
Yeah, swifter, please.
Yeah,
we wouldn't be sad about it. Dom really I think he had plans for that Devoted Druid after taking that. He's really taking inventory of what he's got before he goes to his draw step, picking up something, but playing that Plains out. He's going to, again, wow, right off the top, 2 turns in a row playing Devoted Druid into Wedding Announcement. Going to add a counter to it and a 1/1 human onto the battlefield.
Yep. So, the old saying goes, you can't thought seize the top of the deck. And Ian knows that well. Dom knows it well. And that's just somehow how the tough cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and it's being tough for Ian. Ian taking a look and saying, I felt pretty good about that. Okay, so we're going to see this is an engineered explosives for 0.
0.
Planning to take out those wedding announcement tokens at a future turn, probably after the third one has popped off when it gets to 3 counters.
Sure, not only that, but engineered explosive is some insurance against that hangerback walker that's hanging around Dom's hand.
This is an aggressive play right here.
Well, so Dom has a couple creatures in hand, a lot of removal, 2 different removal spells, and it looks like Ian isn't so much on the creature plan as it is the removal plan. Right. So Dom's like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those explosives so they have to perhaps be popped right then, take rid of that 1 human so I can deploy other threats to the board unfettered.
And we're going to see an Aether Channeler. It's very charming.
Well,
often will make a bird, but this time it drew a card, but it also can return a creature to its owner's hand. And it looks like we have a Troll of Khazad-dum.
Khazad-dum.
I was so close.
There's the Axamar, the Diacritic, right above that U.
Well, egg on my face. Looks like we have getting a swamp that is also going to be an island and a plains. Appropriate.
Sure. Yeah, Rafine's Tower, spying above all of New Capenna. Rafine, heck of a card herself, too. The 1/4. Watch out.
Not present in this cube,
Not present
though.
in this cube.
Only the tower will have to survive.
Only the tower. That's usually, Rafine is just known for her tower, really, in most environments.
Right.
That's how it goes. So, meanwhile, Dom has drawn 2 cards that Ian hasn't seen, but if the past is any explanation, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And the Aether Channeler will trade with the white creature that usually makes
Skyclave Apparition.
Yeah, usually makes an illusion token.
Well, it did. It actually did make an illusion token. It was so quick you didn't see it because it was a 0/0 and died to state base effects immediately.
Yeah. Story time. Skyclave Aspirin is a fun card because it was made late in development. So the only reason why it makes a blue illusion token is because we had to choose a token from among the tokens
that you already had in the set.
So we had Inscription of Abundance, Inscription of Insight, the blue sorcery. It makes illusion tokens. So we had to make a card, reverse engineer to make that token.
And you didn't have any Thopter tokens in Battle for Zendikar.
No. So anyway, Hangerback Walker.
Zendikar Rising.
Hangerback Walker has arrived with the 2 counters, and also the wedding festivities have begun. So all these creatures are a little bigger, but Ian answers with Imrith. Imrith, the Doom of Blue, the Desert Doom.
And was Imrith invited to the wedding?
Well, when you're a dragon, you don't really need invitations to go anywhere.
You can crash it no matter what.
You can crash any party you want, baby.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Dom does have a Path to Exile, and then Imrith has Ward 4.
I got bad news.
Ward 4.
Dom doesn't have enough. And Dom is going to purposely split a sleeve to buy some time.
Yeah,
What a wily son of a gun.
Lets him think about. That's why he's 7-0. It's a splitting sleeves left and right.
Okay, so Dom not able to deploy this Path to Exile to get rid of Imrith because that Ward 4, as long as it's untapped, which it is right now, is going to prevent it being targeted until Dom gets to at least 5 to maybe Path to Exile it to clear it out of its way. Because he really wants to do that as he has a Anthem in the form of Wedding Announcement on the back, which is Wedding Celebration.
Festivities.
Come on, man.
I'm coming on. So anyway, Dom will deploy a Chatterfang. Unfortunately, Ian has every basic land type in play except 4. So even somehow playing around the Chatterfang and is blocking the Hangerback Walker.
That's going to make 2/2/2 Thopters.
2/2/2 Thopters.
Yeah, Ian's going to say, does that have Forest Vault? Cool, I don't care.
Cool, that's fine. I would not play
no problem.
my Ketria Trion that's probably hanging out in this blue-black control deck.
So we have 2/2/2 Thopters and 2/2/2 Squirrels thanks to Chatterfang.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
So there's a lot of threats coming out. Ian knows of the Path to Exile hanging out in Dom's hands, so he's probably not going to be swinging for the fences here. Ian will be looking for some way to get rid of all these 2/2 creature tokens. But, how many sweepers can there be in this blue-black control deck when Engineered Explosive has already exploded out in the graveyard? So instead, we have a Hidatsugu and Kairi coming down. This is a good card.
It is a good card. It's going to let Ian essentially cast Brainstorm, which is draw 3 cards, put 2 back from your hand on the top of your library. And then when Hidatsugu and Kairi dies, it's going to let you cast the top card of your library.
With paying the mana cost?
Not with paying the mana cost, and your opponent has to pay with their life.
Whoa, I love that kind of pay. So anyway, Path to Exile is like, you know what? You may have a dice trigger, but I've got an exile effect, but you can have a land. That's fine. Ah, not a forest. Dang.
Now, did
Almost.
Dom do this before or after the trigger?
It looks like Dom did this before the trigger.
There we go. Don't let Ian get that free brainstorm plus a shuffle. No. You're going to have to put those back on top and draw them later.
Yep, so right now it looks like Ian is Hidatsugu and Kairi locked, so those cards are going to remain on the top of the library unless Ian can do some manipulation to get them around. Just a heads-up play by Dom.
That very much so. Very much so.
You know, Hidatsugu and Kairi locked. That's just a common thing that Magic players say.
Now, could Ian now go to the skies, and is it worth it? I mean, he certainly could.
That's not happening.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of little ground buddies. We have 10 power in only tokens here. That's going to be tough.
Right, you are. But Ian did deploy with his remaining mana Jace Vryn's Prodigy, the little merfolk looter that could, to try to look for some other ways to get rid of Dom's flying and squirrel army.
Yeah.
Flying squirrel army.
And I imagine that's not the last amount of squirrels we're going to see. And I believe we're in the upkeep of Dom, going to put Skyclave Apparition on top of his deck so he can draw it, cast it immediately. Obviously, that's what's going to come down here. Dom going to take a look, and then we're going to say, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, how about no? That's going to go under Skyclave Apparition and potentially turn into a 2/2 illusion at some point. But if Dom has his way, he'll never get the chance.
That's true. Well, I mean, Jace turning into an illusion is very fitting for the character. I did cosplay as Jace for quite a while, that Jace instead. But so while I'm sad at that, I am excited to see all these tokens crash in to Ian's board. And Ian's like, you know what? I'll go ahead and stop one. But it looks like I'm taking 8 damage and go from 14 to 6.
That is a significant amount of damage.
That's as they say, that's a lot of damage.
That is a lot of damage, and 6 is not good when Dom is going 6 wide, and only 3 of those creatures need to connect to end the game in Dom's favor. But you know, Ian's working with a lot of mana, 8 mana, several cards in hand, 2 cards. One of them is a Tyrant's Scorn, I believe, a Commit to Memory.
Oh, so a Commit to Memory is great for getting rid of one of those tokens, but like it cannot deal with quite all of them. So we have its Tyrant Scorn coming down here, which, you know, does get rid of one creature. It'll be that creature. So now Ian will have another creature token, essentially 2-for-1ing with this removal spell. So that's helping. And it looks like he will barely be alive here for drop block. No, it looks like Ian is still dead on board unless he has another trick up his sleeve. So another trick that may be up Ian's sleeve, I believe that Murderous Rider from a long time ago from turn 3 is still hanging out on Adventure. So it's kind of, you know, going pretty far, doing its old Murderous Rider things, but we'll see if that commit is going to come down and maybe pick up that wedding festivities, maybe a Thopter. I don't know. We'll see what Ian has up his sleeve.
Yeah, I think that no matter what, because Ian's working with 8 mana instead of 9, it might not be the time to play the Murderous Rider, but maybe a different time.
And so Dom Harvey does the whole, well, I'm just going to tackle all my creatures, the common like hand motion, and just send in with everything. Ian will be casting Commit on the wedding festivities. So while Dom will be able to rebuy some more tokens, second from the top, bud, Ian will be surviving just by the skin of his teeth, remaining at 3 life. Take 3, go to 3, halfway down.
There's and this is not a big deal, but Chatterfang does need to sacrifice squirrels to use its ability. So leaving the squirrels around rather than the humans is a tiny option you could have chosen to maybe avoid Chatterfang potentially coming back and making your life a little bit more difficult. Either way, Ian is at 3, and Dom he's got a Lion Sash. I don't know if he's going to be struggling to put a meaningful threat on the battlefield, but we're going to find out. Is he's going to cast something for 3, which is the unknown card in his hand along with Ignoble Hierarch. Nope. It's going to be his adventure card, a new Wilds of Eldraine card that has a green adventure that we're struggling to get. We're trying to find it, folks.
Oh, you want me to find the card? Oh, the Woodland Acolyte?
Well, yeah, the Woodland Acolyte.
I just started looking for it as soon as I said the name.
Yes, you're so intelligent and very quick, David. I appreciate that.
You'll love to hear. So Dom is like, you know what? We've got Ian to 3. Thank you. Thank you, Nolan's got us. Dorman's got us. So, all right. Dom does need to deploy some threats. Ian's like, you know what? I still have some removal spells in the form of Baleful Mastery for 2 mana.
He said,
2 mana.
You want to draw a card? Why don't you draw another card?
This is okay. Ian's like, you know what? This Imrith does not have Defender. It can attack.
It's time to go.
It's time to go. And if Ian doesn't have any cards in his hand, he will draw the full 3 cards from Imrith.
Wow.
Oh, that's very exciting.
I didn't think Ancestral Recall was in this queue, but Ian proved us wrong.
Dimir may just find a way.
Now, that looks like a Warhammer 40K card.
Does it?
Yes. I don't know what it is, but I think that it looks like that.
Well, okay.
I'm not exactly sure, but it looks like. Oh, so it killed all of. So it was. Oh, it's Toxic Deluge
For one.
from
For
Lord
one.
for one.
For one.
Which destroyed all of the creatures. Ian going to 2, but then of course Dom saying, "Well, I'm going to clean up your board too with a Sunfall, taking out the remaining creatures and turning it into a 2/2 incubator."
You know, the green-white creature deck oftentimes wants Wrath of Gods in their deck. We all have been there. But, you know, Dom has to play. A lot of his threats are actually not creatures. Wandering Emperor, Wedding Festivities, Lion Sash reconfigured onto a creature.
Right.
There's lots of ways Dom can just play that Wrath that the opponents will never expect and still come out ahead with all his weird divergent threats.
Ian is
Memory?
using his emergency button of casting
Memory.
memory from his graveyard aftermath, shuffling his deck and Dom's deck into each of their graveyards into their decks, and then drawing 7 each.
So Ian is like, you know what? I'm going to draw 3 cards with Imrith. I'm going to make you draw a card with Baleful Mastery. I'm going to make us both draw 7 cards with Memory. Ian's like, I just love drawing cards, man. I'll draw some cards. You draw some cards. That's all good. Ian has more confidence in this stage of the game of his threats and removal spells than he believes Dom has in his green-white creature deck. But he's like, you know what? I'm happy with this trade, even though I have 4 mana untapped, and you're going to untap with 5 mana.
Right, but Dom does have an incubator token that could come alive and knock Ian down to 0, which is a dangerous proposition. Ian is really banking on his deck to deliver like 2 spells he can cast this turn.
Well, it looks like Ian drew a Swift End. Looks like Ian drew a few cards. Supreme Will doesn't help against that incubator, but we're going to see. And now Dom really has the question of, do you transform this incubator token into a Phyrexian, or do you deploy your board more with your 5 mana instead of just your 3?
I would go for the kill because Ian's just going to have more mana next turn. He's already got 7 cards in his hand. Like, I would take the option.
Try to spike that win.
Yeah, I would.
Go for broke, Brave or Grave.
Right. Well, Dom probably drew a land. He's got 8 new cards, so that's going to leave him with 4 mana after he activates it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But again, Dom's down there, we're up here, and we're going to see what Dom decides to do, and that's going to be cast for white, white, green. Was that looked like a Blade Splicer to me?
Nope. White. Yes.
Was a Blade Splicer though.
Adamant with Adamant.
Remand.
Remand.
And now we're going to see
If
that go
Ian-
back to his hand.
Did Ian draw the interaction spell with that remand? Maybe a Baleful Mastery?
I mean, down to 2.
That'd be sick.
The options are much lower. Yeah, Dom's going to say.
But clearly,
Dom's going to say, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to try to end the game yet. I believe you've got it, so I will deploy another threat.
Ooh, all right. Well, Dom agreed with me. And so Ian did have a removal spell in the form of Petty Theft. Doodle-ding. If you ever
Yes,
played on Arena.
I have so many times.
Doodle-ding.
Yeah. Don't worry, we haven't hit an escape card yet, but I'll give you that sound effect too.
Okay, thank you. I can't wait for it. So
Right.
Ian is basically in the driver's seat. Here we have a Teferi Temporal Pilgrim. This is a 5-mana planeswalker that oftentimes you just make another Teferi in the form of the spirit creature token, which Ian is demonstrating here. And now, when Ian does what he loves best, drawing cards, he'll be able to take up not only the loyalty on this awesome 5-mana blue planeswalker, but also on the spirit creature token it created.
And this is a very uncommon thing, a mono blue vigilance token creator.
Well, sure. Vigilance is the newest keyword to Blue's suite of tokens, Blue's suite of keywords. Turns out Blue's keywords were flying, ward, hexproof, and unblockable.
What about Flash?
Well, sure, Flash. That's kind of more evergreen. But Blue needed some more cool things to do, and Blue's pretty vigilant. Blue that's looking at places, looking at you, looking at me, looking around. So they're quite vigilant nowadays.
I mean, we'll agree to disagree. You could be right, but emotionally.
Well, someone's feelings are never wrong. So if that's the card you want to play, you got it. But
I do want to play Teferi because it is one of, if not the most powerful blue planeswalker you can play in mini cubes.
Teferi's the card I want to play.
Yeah, I want to play it too. And Dom looks like he's going to deploy an Ignoble Hierarch to either force Ian to trade the Hangerback Walker with its 2/2 spirit. But if Ian can draw a card, it's going to turn into a 3/3. And then it might actually become a problem for Dom because it's got vigilance. As noted, as we started this whole conversation going, it's got vigilance.
I mean, if Teferi has been around a lot. He's been very vigilant in forsaking his spark to save all others.
Well,
That's the back of the book.
I know. Well, trust me,
Future sight.
the back of the book. Well, I've listened to his arena voice lines too, and he's not shy about it.
Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah.
Let's slow things down.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, he's been here in the feature match area all day.
Yeah. So so here we're seeing Dom really need to find some way to break through all these blue-black defenses. So we're really seeing kind of the downfall of the green-white creature deck. Ian, he's got his opponent at 2. Ian's at 2, minus 2 life total points. So, but there's no real reach or burn that green and white can do. The closest approximation is maybe flash, like some sort of flash creature. Dom isn't really doing that. So now Dom's like, well, I just got to keep presenting threats and hopefully eke out a way to get through your defenses. But like Dom, hasn't lost yet. So if anybody can do it, I believe Dom could.
Right, and he is going to pay this 3 mana for the counter to avoid Noble Hierarch being countered, and is going to block with the 2/2 token. That is actually pretty big for Dom because Ian could not draw a card. If Ian could draw a card, that attack would have been rough. And then we see a Canker Bloom.
It does the job.
It does the job. It's 3 power. That is the magic number as it currently stands.
Yep. Ian also has the Murderous Rider back in his hand, and so he can't cast Swift in right now. Don't do that, Ian. Please don't.
Cast a 2/3 with lifelink.
But you can cast a 2/3 with lifelink for 3.
That's sounded pretty good to me if I were Ian right now.
That ain't bad.
That ain't bad at all.
So looks like the Teferi ticked up, drew a card, and now Ian is surveying his options. Toxic Deluge is back. I'm going to guess it's for 1 if I was a betting man. Looks like, yep, Ian wishes to continue playing the game and only choose 1 for the life loss.
I very much appreciate Ian using his life total as a resource.
That's
so much.
I mean, you start with 20,
Yeah.
as we all know.
Two back-to-back Toxic Deluges for 1. And Ian did not draw a card. He simply drew a card
for
his turn.
I did say
added,
that.
Yeah.
It's like Ian drew a card.
It's true. It's
Every
true.
turn.
Every turn you get 1 for free. And now we're making a token. Now we're deploying Murderous Rider, not Swift in.
Not Swift in.
And Ian is going to embark on the long journey of surviving from 1 and trying to turn this game around. Now, I do see a Path to Exile lurking in Dom's hand, which could be critical to pushing through this last single point of damage, as I don't think he selected Hornet Sting in the cube since it's not in there.
Or gut shot. So, your opponent's at 1, and they have a lifelink creature. That's not what you want to see. So Dom will have to fire off this Path to Exile at some point, or maybe some sacrifice and sack shenanigans or some stuff like that.
I know what, we know what Ian drew for the turn. It was Opt.
Yep.
Because he would have definitely cast that last turn to give his token,
larger.
his token and his Teferi a +1/+1 counter, which actually would have changed the dynamic of the game quite a bit, to be honest.
Quite a bit. So, some players in this position, if you were in Dom's seat, you could maybe break from the mental stress of, oh, I got my opponent to 1. Oh, how do I finish it out? But that's not what champions do. So, you just keep playing, play your outs, play the best matches you can. And that Chatterfang was going to be a 3/3 for 3. A Hill Giant, if you will, for 3 mana. But Ian Braverman had a counterspell in the form of Counterspell.
And now we see a Blade Splicer, which is a 3/3 for 3 with a bonus 1/1. How nice. And it's got first strike.
For now.
Now, that might not be so hot in the face of a 4/4 Vigilant token. And if I were a betting man,
Are you?
You know what? Right now I'm going to bet that Ian is going to make another token with his Planeswalker.
Yeah, the tokens are not legendary, so Ian does have the Baleful Mastery yet again. He remembered it was in his deck from the memory and has cast it yet again on that Phyrexian Golem token.
He's casting it as the master, not the student, for the full 4 mana.
Correct. He's like, you know what? I love drawing cards, but Ian, Dom, don't draw a card this turn. I'll pay the full Monty. And here comes a 4/4 Spirit to cook it bigger. No one knows. And Murderous Rider for 2. Dom's like, you know what? I'll take 6, go to 6. Ian is up to 3.
That's 2 more Toxic Deluges for Ian.
I'm sure he's just so pleasantly happy. So, yeah, here comes another Teferi Spirit. Teferi can be in so many places and so many times all at once. And we're going to pass it back to Dom.
I think Dom confidently on the back foot.
Yeah, but we're going to check, confirm life totals, make sure we're all in agreement of the reality we are all participating in.
Right.
And consider his options. Oh, Sunfall. Sunfall has came back. So is there some way that Dom could get the threat off? But no, he's going to,
let's figure it out later. Let me get a 5/5, please, and we'll get rid of all of these tokens.
Let me get that.
Let me get that. And they're exiled, by the way. So that life link that you got, getting you up to 3, which I believe is your life total.
Yep.
That's no more. No more life link, please.
So here we have Gilded Goose versus Brazen Borrowers, a classic Throne of Eldraine matchup.
One of the most classic ever.
You know, you're gonna be a flying creature. Do you want to add mana, gain life, or be really strong?
Well, I mean, to be fair, those were exactly the 2 options in Throne of Eldraine.
That's true.
So now, Dom, notably, that food, maybe 10 minutes ago, we would not have said, oh, food token, that's going to make mana. Dom, might need that extra 3 life. That represents another attack from Brazen Borrower, which could be relevant. And we have Rowan's Grim Search.
Yep, so this is a new card in the newest set,
Wilds of Eldraine.
Yep, so this lets you, look at some cards. Did Ian bargain for this Grim Search? Did he come to bargain? Looks like, nope, just draw 2 cards. I believe they were 2 lands.
Yeah,
so
Dormammu was not here.
Dormammu was vacant for some reason, but that Teferi did not get large because you don't actually you do draw them. So Teferi got bigger. Takenuma has appeared.
And it does cost the full 4, as Ian doesn't have any legendary creatures, so no cost reduction on Takenuma. But Ian is going to mill 3 and then pick up a Planeswalker or creature from his graveyard. And we're going to see hit some strong ones. Hit an Inquisition of Kozilek, a Tyrant Scorn, and a Dig Through Time.
Oh, my.
Before he picks up what? What did he pick
Of creature-wise?
I'm not sure. Does he have any creatures in his graveyard?
We'll
Are they
find
all
out.
exiled?
They've been pretty exiled.
They've been very exiled. And we're now at 3. And, I think that Ian might be at 3 rather than 1. I also think there's a chance that it might not matter. But
so Path to Exile.
Path to Exile.
On that spirit. All right.
Go get a land.
Incubate.
If this comes across for 5, 3
Incubate.
life isn't going to do it. And
oh my God.
Dom picks up the win after a
wow
heartbreaker for Ian. Thought he was going to draw back, and ooh-wee.
So
that was a very close one.
I know so many other mages, other magicians. If you were in Dom's seat, I got my opponent to 1, and then memory and all this stuff, and I just couldn't get there. Dom was like, no, I'm a consummate Magic the Gathering professional player.
Right.
Kept it together, made sure everything was tight, played well, and was able to defeat his blue-black opponent somehow after a million turns and take the win.
Ian cast like 500 cards too.
Like 700 removal spells.
Yeah.
Sometimes more than once of the same card.
Most of them times.
Yeah.
And Dom's like, you know what? Creatures, I don't need them. What about incubator tokens? That's good enough for me.
Yeah. So Dom was playing green-white creatures. What a basic strategy. But Dom has so much play to his deck. And he's even playing Sunfall, the Wrath of God, in his creature deck against a blue-black control opponent with like 3 creatures in his deck.
And it actually secured the win for him.
So it not only cleared out the opposition, but had a creature that's hard to interact with and then come through for the victory. That's Sunfall.
Yeah, there
right
it is.
Here.
There it is. Boom.
Whoop, there it is. The sun
I'm
fell.
not very good at this.
Yeah, it's you need a lot of.
It's right. It's right here. Right there.
Yeah, you need a lot of ways to move your body.
No, you don't have to worry about that if you want to play on Magic the Gathering Online, because it'll do it for you. Did you know that?
I did know that, in fact.
Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so Magic Online is your digital home for Commander, Cube, Modern, and more. We've got Pioneer. They've got Legacy, Vintage, Commander, Modern, also Commander. We've got Standard and
What about
Limited
Cube?
too. Cube?
Yeah.
We've got Cube. Have you heard of the Vintage Cube?
I have. Is that there?
It's there.
Oh, my goodness.
You can sign up right now for a free account. It's completely free to sign up and get started on there.
I'm doing it right now.
You do it on your phone?
Can I?
You can. You can sign up for an account.
I'm doing it.
Another one?
How
many accounts do you want?
As you've identified, I haven't loaded my Magic Online account for many years. I think it might be time now.
Well, I load mine up all the time. So Magic Online is your place for power. Pick it up, play some Super Jump. Super Jump is awesome, and we'll be talking more about Magic Line shortly. But we're going to go right back down to the games to finish Dom versus Ian for game 2 of this match.
Yeah, this could go long.
Yeah, so Magic Online, because they're still shuffling, we want to talk about Magic Online. You can also play Super Jump League. You pick 2 half decks, shuffle up and play. It's kind of like Jump In or Jump Start,
Jump Start, yeah.
but with Cube. It's cube.
That's better.
I mean, we're
That's
a CubeCon.
possible.
We're a CubeCon. We're not a Jumping Start Con. So all Commander players, you can also play Magic Online. You can bling out your decks, play pre-constructed, anything between. Also, if you're aiming for the Pro Tour, like Dom was just on Lord of the Rings Pro Tour, you can qualify for the regional championship in any of 7 different formats and compete with the best in the champion showcase. Visit midgo.com for more details. mtgo.com.
And to start off, we see nothing deployed on the first 2 turns for Ian, but then Dom tries to put down a Cankerbloom, and Ian says, nah, let's worry about that later. I'm going to remand that back to your hand. Dom says, nothing I can do about that. Pick that Cankerbloom back up, and we might try to deploy it this turn again
And
as a 3-1 beater.
You know the unique thing about Cankerbloom and Remand?
They're
on Magic Online.
Okay.
They're right there. You can play with them.
Both of them.
And Cankerbloom was like, you know what, Remand? Not enough. I'm coming back, baby. I'm coming back, Remand.
Yeah.
There it is.
Coming in strong.
You can't stop that. Look at that.
It's a fungus.
It's a real fun guy to
have. It keeps growing on you.
Well, I mean, I thought I had you, but you in a reverse carded me.
Yeah.
So Dom does have a Mistress Factory. So, Ian Braverman did lose for these weird non-creature creatures, and Dom does connect for 3.
He does. That's actually that's a gut check. It's like, hey, are you going to remove this first threat? Ian's like, not yet.
So here we have a Charming Prince. It's a charm, but it's kind of like the white Charming Scoundrel, some say.
Never has anyone said that. But it is going to scry 2, both on the bottom, and then we're going to see a Lion Sash come down as a creature this time, but it could reconfigure. Ooh.
Oh, this is one of your favorite cards,
I
Justin.
love Venser Shaper Savant.
Yes.
Love it so much. So this can return a spell to your hand, it can turn a permanent to your hand, and it also can attack for 2 unexpectedly because it's got Flash. Wow, that is a big engineered explosives for 2. They're going to take care of Dom's entire board of Cankerbloom plus Lion Sash. And now we got one of your favorite cards of all time, or at least of that was cast this turn.
Well, I did play with this card in this cube before this match, Boromir Gondor's Hope. So this is a new card from Lord of the Rings, Commander. And whenever Boromir enters the battlefield or attacks, you look for a human or artifact in your top 6. And it looks like Dom, there we are, has found the Border Tracker.
Briarbridge Tracker.
Briarbridge Tracker. Honestly, probably would be good friends with Boromir, defending Gondor from the forces of Mordor.
We'll never know because it's in the graveyard from an Inquisition of Kozilek from Ian. He's like, that's pretty good.
The tracker will remain, but
the tracker will remain.
Swift reconfiguration is gone.
Okay.
Ian's like, I think you have a
I might remember that devoted druid.
Yeah.
From 45 minutes ago at the beginning of game 1.
Yep. So Ian has a Venser, but Dom has Boromir, brother to Faramir, son of Denethor, the steward of Gondor, and Ian's like, yo, I got a dragon.
That's pretty good. Now, we know that Dom has a Sunfall, definitely didn't side it out because he's got to deal with Ian's very difficult to get rid of threats. If he's got that Sunfall, we could see an attack with Boromir, uncaring of what happens, but instead we're just going to see the Briarbridge Tracker, which is going to be a 4/3 as long as there's a token on the battlefield, and there is, because it investigates immediately.
So the tracker really came just knowing what it was looking for just off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even looking for a clue. It just has one.
I got a hot take for you.
Like, I mean, also, look that she's got, like, a weird, cool, like, Kopesh, like, one-handed sword and a hand crossbow. That's sick.
Yeah.
But Ian's like, I got a bird, a Strix. Latin for bird, by the way.
And Ian's like, you have a Boromir in the second down from the top of your deck.
Yeah. So it wasn't quite an arrow through Boromir, but it was a commit. But he'll be back. Don't worry.
Maybe.
I mean, memory
we
might
thought
come around.
We thought that last time, and Ian was like, let's shuffle them up, baby.
Yep.
Let's draw 7.
So Ian crashed in with Imrith, the Desert Doom, and it sounds like it might be spelling doom for Dom, but the Wandering Emperor's like, you know what? You're done, son.
You want some cube staples? You got a Baleful Strix, you got a Venser. How about the new cube staple, Wandering Emperor?
Brand
one of the
new.
most powerful white cards in all of Cube Land.
Well, hot off the printing presses of Neo Kamigawa from 2.5 years ago.
It's still in Standard.
Well, he's Standard's 3 years.
Well, that's
it's always been that way. What are you talking about?
Right. Dom gonna go
Rowan's Grim Search.
Okay.
So Grimly looking is Ian bargaining? Perhaps nope. Ian is not bargaining that Strix and is like, I'll just happy for a divination where I lose 2 life. And that Strix was not bargain because you know what the bargain is finishing off this Emperor.
That's a much better bargain, to be honest.
Well, it's in the bargains and the beauty of the eye of the beholder.
That's the exact phrase.
That's what they say. So Dom does have a Steel Seraph split between the worlds of 3 and 6 mana, figuring out what to do with his life. Crashes in for 4 damage. Vincer is not, Vincer's like, know what? I want to live.
Yeah, not quite yet.
I want to live so
I'm
I can
not ready.
later be a Phyrexian.
You were right. Boromir is back, and if it resolves, Dom's going to go looking in the top 6, but Ian's going to say not quite. And Ian not letting Dom get under him and get his life total low this time.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if Baleful Strix came into the red zone again. I think it's going to hang back and potentially block that Briarbridge tracker. Thoughtseize is going to put Ian himself down to 9 under that safety valve of double-digit life total, but take out Steel Seraph to make sure that if Dom peels a land, the best he can do is a 3/3 Hangerback Walker, which is, to be honest, not bad.
Yep. So right now, Dom is kind of running out of things to do. He can cast that Hangerback Walker but it looks like he's going to cast the card he drew for the turn, which was Chatterfang. Still, sadly, no forest, but Ian's like, you know what? I still just don't want you to have a 3/3 for 3. So counterspell. Counter.
And Dom probably going to cash in this clue at the end of Ian's turn. So we all know what's in Dom's hand, which is in that Hangerback Walker. And now we're going to see Aether Channeler probably going to draw a card for Ian as it does.
I can make a bird.
Ian's going to go up to potentially 10 mana if we have a land drop. But we have, instead of playing that land, we have a Daitsugu and Kairi. Going to cast a little brainstorm action when it enters the battlefield. Draw 3, put back 2. And I see 3 lands in Ian's hand and 1 magic spell, but I'm not exactly sure what that is.
I believe it's a Murderous Rider.
Or a Swift End.
I mean, that's the adventure part. It's a choose your own adventure.
It is a choose your own adventure, and it's quite a good one. Not quite able to get Ian there last match, but Dom presenting a lot less pressure this time. Although we do know the card that got Dom out of this exact type of situation last time.
Sunfall. I
No.
was hoping he was going to cast it.
I really wish
Overpaying by 1 mana. Take a mana burn on 1.
Yeah, just to make us in the booth look good. But so
we need the help.
Sunfall is something that Ian's got to be careful of because it's, Ian is not in a position where he can counter many or any spells, but he also is putting Dom to 5.
And that's exactly Hitotsugu and Kairi's power together. Kairi is 6, Hitotsugu's 4.
Yeah.
You balance them out, you get 5.
Yeah, they're holding it like this.
They're holding it tight. They go way back.
Yeah, they're quite a good team, and they're going to be a really good team for Ian. But Dom says, this is a flyer, believe it or not. It does matter, and it's probably going to pick up a block here on Hidetsugu and Kairi.
Dom says, I'm going to go ahead and attack for 4 with this food counter. Thanks, Goose. And Ian's like, I'm happy trading because Ian really just want to connect with its Hitotsugu and Kairi once to finish the game.
Oh, that is a Hero of Blade hold.
Whoa. Swift end.
Oh, that was... So Ian could have Swift ended the Gilded Goose to come across for 5 and end the game.
But that Hero... I have been deathly afraid of Hero Blade hold. I see that card and I was like, please stop. No.
Right.
I just end it. So Murderous Rider will make an appearance. Hitotsugu and Kairi will have Goose for dinner and then put Dom on needing 1 more card to stave off this Demon Spirit attack.
And Dom is going to tap his Hangerback Walker, put a +1/+1 counter at the end of Ian's turn. And still, despite the small misstep from Ian, Dom is looking at all of his options as he knows the game is ending very, very soon.
Yep, so this tells me Dom drew Woodland Acolyte, looking to see if he can, the exact card back on top and draw it and have 1 mana remaining. Well, we'll draw a Wandering Emperor.
Now,
that to the hand, and
he's still okay because he can eat
that food.
Eat that food. Eat that food for 3. Nom, nom, nom. And he's got to attack with Hidetsugu and Kairi, and then Wander Ember could come down again and exile it.
Ian's like, I really want to put this away. I'm kind of afraid of your deck. Let's see what we got.
Ian should be afraid. He had the win and reacted a little too swiftly.
Yeah.
But, of course, picks up a Brazen Borrower, the answer to pretty much every question.
Pretty much every question. It's a great answer. And there comes Hangerback Walker.
Petty theft.
Petty theft.
Going back into his graveyard, which is not where adventures go, as we learned last time.
But that's all right.
But it doesn't matter because Dom says, you know what, that's good enough for me. Let's go to game 3.
Yep. I'm actually, I wanted to see a game 3. I'm kind of excited to see a game 3.
I do. I like this matchup a lot.
These players are, really strong. They're, doing lots of cool, unique things and, working on their synergies. So Dom has, creature tokens and that kind of cool Sunfall synergy. Ian is playing removal spells and drawing cards.
Well, yeah.
And that's a pretty good synergy.
You know, sometimes you got to go back to the classics. Blue and black, I want to draw as many cards as possible. I want to kill as many of your creatures as possible. And that is Ian's entire game plan. It worked that time.
It did work that time. I really want to see like a Heated Sugun Kairi brainstorm, put commit to memory on top.
Take 10.
Kill your own Heated Sugun Kairi.
Yeah, take 10, get out
take
of there.
10. All right, we're done here. That's what
Yeah.
I'm really hoping to see. From Dom, I just want to see more creatures that attack. That's
Whoa,
pretty cool.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Well, maybe you'll get your wish.
Yeah.
Dom probably wants that too, if we're being honest.
Dom wants Ian to put a force in his deck so that Chatterfang can really get in there.
Yeah, Dom was really eating good in that first round matchup where he was like, man, this Chatterfang was unblockable entirely. That is awfully powerful.
Yeah.
It's good here because Chatterfang's still a very powerful card, but not quite
That's good.
the game changer that it was in the first round against Brandon. But this is going to be an excellent game 3. I actually think this is a really good matchup. This is a classic cube matchup of green-white questions versus blue-black answers.
That's correct. And, you know, Dom, maybe he has the chance to get that Devoted Druid Swift Reconfiguration Infinite Mana combo. That'd be really exciting to see. But he does have Woodland Acolyte in his hand. Maybe Dom's going to be playing a can-tripping creature on turn 2.
He could, because he started with that Noble Hierarch on turn 1
That's-
off of the Overgrown Tomb.
I mean, that's been happening for a while. I get it. But, like, I really want to see this green-white creature deck put some pressure on Ian. And Ian does not want to see that Noble Hierarch. You know, Ian was able...
You're talking about pressure.
Oh, under pressure. Dom does not want to cast that Woodland Acolyte and instead is going to cast for 1 mana a Gilded Goose.
Yeah.
Go on. So now Dom has access to 5 mana on turn 3.
Woo. Now, did you catch what I just caught?
What?
Ian went to go cycle his Troll of Khazad-dûm,
Khazad-dûm, thank you. You're close.
Khazad-dûm, but he accidentally showed Toxic Deluge out of his hand. Now, I don't know if Dom saw that. I don't know if Dom saw that. Ian might have looked at the symbol on the bottom and said, that's a triangle. I'll play the triangle card.
Universe Beyond, baby.
But,
UB. I mean, Ian is playing UB in many ways.
We will
this deck.
we will see if Dom picked up on that. But either way, Dom is going to continue his plan, get his mana right, get it tight, and he's going to get that Temple Garden off of his Wooded Foothills. Still on tap with 5 mana, so a lot to do, even in the face of a Toxic Deluge.
Yep. Dom could cast Sunfall here on turn 3. But instead, he will cast Boromir, which is a much better play than Sunfall, and go looking for a human or artifact here on turn 3.
And he's looking at 6, checking his hand again.
Checking it twice.
Yeah, and Boromir's a 3/4.
Gondor's Hope.
Finding Charming Prince. That is a good combination with Boromir.
Right you are, Justin.
And it looks like we do see the Toxic Deluge. Ian's going to take 4.
That's all right. I'll take 4 life to kill 3 creatures. No problem.
Yeah,
So-
I would make that trade if I were Ian.
So Ian was able to survive the early onslaught last game due to the engineered explosives for 2. And Ian's like, you know what? I'll do it myself. I'll pay the life, get down there, and stomp out these 3 creatures. Boromir, you know, he showed up, did some sweet stuff, and then was on his way. True to the story, you know. The Toxic Deluge of Arrows was just too much for our wonderful warrior of Gondor.
And Dom really loves this Boromir. He's going to have cast it about 7 times this match.
You know, the story of Boromir, Dom says, you're not done yet, Boromir. Wake up. If Gandalf can get an extra life, so can you.
Wow. And I don't think Dom is ever going to cast that Acolyte without sending it on an adventure. That was never in the plan.
Yeah, not against a blue-black control deck chock full of removal
We
spells.
need all them cards.
We need those noxious revivals. But I guess they're not quite noxious. They're unnoxious.
They're very healthy and tasty revivals.
Yes.
Yes.
Dom does have a Hollow's Fountain in his deck for the Boromir, so yeah, that totally makes sense. Why am I even saying it? So here, Dom's going to play this Charming Prince, perhaps to blink this Woodfall.
You know what's better than scrying? It's drawing a card. Is Ian going to say, okay? Ian's going to say, no. I got something for you.
I have a Swift End, yet again, adventure on adventure crime. Yet again, going to the grave.
The real crime, the real crime is going to the graveyard. Fortunately, not the case, as for the first time, Murder Strider going to go to the Adventure Zone despite being cast a Swift End multiple times. But you know what?
What? Is it rhetorical? Anyway, Dom has 2 2/2s, and one was 1 2/2.
For Mirrodin.
Thank for Mirrodin. So now we have 2 2s. Then normally a blue-black control deck's like, whatever, you have 2 Grizzly Bears. That's fine. But these 2 2s draw cards, yo. So Ian will have to come up with something to stop these 2/2s, and I believe he has an Ether Channeler, which is a great answer to a Rebel.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't think so, but
Yeah, I
Rebels
was gonna
have
say
one weakness,
you-
and it's bounce.
you wouldn't think so, but it does not like walking on very squishy ground.
Yep. Instead, Ian's like, you know what? I'm going to use all my mana for the turn and cast Imrith Desert Doom. It's done good work for me. I will continue to play it and hope we don't have a Path to Exile with the mana. Dom does not. He's got a
Got a
Boromir.
Boromir though. You know what? And he's like, you know what? Boromir pretty good. Looking at 6 cards,
It's a lot of cards.
that's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of cards.
And it looks like Dom has an. Dom did not find anything this time, but never fret. Boromir does never just quit on the job. Once he gets in there and attacks, he's going to keep looking for those humans or artifacts.
Right. And even though technically Rebels don't have a problem with dragons, I think Dom might have a problem with this dragon as it's a 5/5. And if you're able to connect with it, it essentially casts Anticipate, which is look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put one into your hand, put the rest on the bottom. We're going to hit this Aether Channeler first. Is that not what that does?
I just draws a card.
Oh, it just draws a card?
I mean,
I'm
it's good
thinking
enough.
of Dragon Lord
Ojutai.
Ojutai, which is a card I love, but that is not this one.
We don't make them like that anymore. Instead, now you just draw 3 cards. So Ian did play that Channeler. That Rebel is gone. And this dragon is really putting the brakes on Dom's plan. But Dom does have the Huntsman's Revenge, and will be making a 3/3 creature token. This card will let Dom look through his deck next turn for any creature in his deck. Like, all of these cards Dom's playing do have card advantage. The Lins, the Boromir, the Acolyte, the Revenge, the Walker, they all let Dom keep churning through his deck.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Ian's doing everything he can to churn through his deck.
And he's really got this token synergy going on, and I think I've spotted the thing Dom's going to sacrifice. It's probably going to be that Hangerback Walker. Is it going to be a 1/1, or maybe it's going to be a 2/2 if Dom chooses to tap it and add a counter to it during his upkeep, which is very possible.
This is very possible indeed. So Ian does have a Brazen Borrower, the eternal answer for every question.
Sure
But,
is.
you know, Ian does have a dragon. Ian does have a wizard. And Ian also has a zombie knight.
That's
So
right.
not the most impressive play in the world, but, like, you know, maybe he gets the job done. And he'll play as Xander's Lounge and pass the turn back to Dom.
Dom, in the face of this dragon, we're going to
Trigger
see
on the stack.
on the stack.
On the stack.
Yep, it's time. I'm going to make this a 2/2. I'm going to sacrifice this. I'm going to get 2 Thopters. Not unexpected. And now Dom gets to go find what he deems the best creature in his deck. And he's already got Boromir. We know he loves that one.
Looking for Noble Hierarch, of course.
He's a big Chatterfang lover. He can't get Sunfall. That's not a creature.
Not yet.
He could get Grist, not in the cube.
Not in the cube. What an insect. So Dom's like, the world's at your oyster, sir. What say thee? Ye say, Hero of Bladehold.
Which,
This is the card. So in Magic the Gathering, a lot of times creatures enter the battlefield and you want them to do stuff. Here, the Bladehold doesn't do anything when it comes into play, but instead we untap, you attack them. But instead, Ian was like, you know what? I have Elena Danner's first Magic card art in the form of Supreme Will to take out the hero.
which is appropriate at Lena Danner. Here at CUBECON.
Here at CUBECON.
Yeah.
Here at GameholeCon.
Yep.
Jewel Lotus artist, wonderful person. And Ian is like, I also have Hiratsugu and Kairi looking for some cards. Baleful Mastery, Dig Through Time,
Ooh, hey.
Engineered Explosives.
Wow.
Is that good? It
Those
has to
were
be
all
good.
good. And I think we put a Dig Through Time on top. Just in case in the
Just in
next
case.
turn cycle that Hidetsugu and Kairi dies. Now, you wanted Commit to Memory. Will
did.
you take 8 for Dig Through Time and be satisfied?
I'll take 8, but I will not be satisfied.
Okay, well, I can't. There's no pleasing you.
Well, Commit to Memory pleases me. That's what that's all I asked. All right, come on.
I feel like that's a big ask.
Well, I'm a big
Dom
guy.
again being quite the gentleman, showing the 2 creatures that got +2/+2 and trample as the Huntsman's Redemption reached the 3rd chapter, and we are going to go looking for 6 again. Now, here's the thing.
That Hiratsugu and Kairi could
it's-
jump in the way of Boromir.
I think it's probably going to do a little Marvel team-up action with another one of these creatures to attempt to take out one of these things that has trample, jump in the way, cast a Dig Through Time for free, and cost Dom 8 life in the process.
Yep. So I would put the ogre demon dragon in front of the beast, and then the baleful strix would go in front of the Boromir, and I think Ian would still survive through that. But we'll find out.
We will find out.
Ian's
now,
on the ground.
Yeah, Dom has 5 mana untapped. Does not cast anything, and there are going to have to be some blocks. somewhere along the way, they're going to have to be blocks. And he has not touched
They have.
his demon dragon.
Maybe is this a cell? Is this at the long con? Yep.
Yeah,
Oh
he's yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a showman.
He didn't want to go right for it, and I think I appreciate. I
That's
really
just tipping
appreciate
your hand
that.
too much.
Yeah,
Now
tipping your hand.
Dom here, does he have to kill Hitotsugu and Kairi with this 5 damage? He does not. I don't think, right?
Well, we have a Wandering Emperor, and that's going to give +1/+1 and first strike. So the answer is yes, he's going to.
Yeah, so Hitotsugu and Kairi is a 5/4, and now Dom is trying to figure out, well, Dom has enough power, so he's got to kill these creatures.
It does, and we do see 5 damage come across at Ian from the unblocked token. And the reason I believe Ian obviously did not block the token is he really wants to get that bounce equity with
the
Brazen Borrower that's been in his hand for quite a while.
Yep, adventures are pretty strong. So I'm excited to see what happens here upon the resolution of the combat. In Hitotsugu and Kairi go to the graveyard. Baleful restricts us 2. That's fine. It is job. And then we're going to
let's
flip
see. Oh,
Baleful Mastery.
Baleful, he put the Dig Through Time 2 down?
I'm not sure.
Ian, come on, buddy.
I mean, Dom's to 10. That ain't bad. Let me check.
It's
take a look
not
at this.
bad. It's not bad. It's not bad.
All right.
I feel bad that I led people astray. I know it's down there. It's the next card
It's
down.
the next card.
And that maybe that was a potential misstep. Now there's the Dig Through Time.
Well, maybe Ian's not out of this yet by a long shot.
No.
Yeah, Ian's got Engineer Explosives for 0 to take care of 3 of your permanents.
Yeah.
Thank you. Pay at the 2. Goodbye, Explosives. What a card.
And the first strike actually hurt Dom more than it helped because it caused that Baleful Master get cast in combat, which exiled
the Beast Token.
exiled the other attacker.
Yeah. First strike. Strong. So the Wandering Emperor is down to a dragon, and Ian is going to cast Dig Through Time, the other Kanzutar card draw spell, I believe for the full Delve Monty.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Gotta get it all.
You have a UU look at 7.
Oh,
Vincer, Island, Tyrant Scorn, Island, something.
Vincer, and then some other cards. Because I'm taking that Vincer.
Well,
yeah, got it.
the
Snag.
Vincer.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
Vince.
Take that Vincer. And then we're gonna see another card go to Ian's hand. We're not exactly sure what it was.
Whoop.
But Vincer's the real star of the show here.
Yeah, just waft in those Sultai fumes and see your future of 2 bounce spells in Ian's hand, which is pretty good against the green-white token deck.
And this dragon is going to look to close the game out fast.
To spell the doom to Dom. And right now, Dom has a desert of removal spells in his hand for this dragon, it looks like. Which isn't great. The dragon doesn't have ward.
Good.
It's wardless.
No. And the shields are down, and Ian says, I must close the game out. He's got to, because while we have interaction and bounce spells, one thing we don't have in Ian's hand is counter spells. So if Dom were to draw that Sunfall, that would be a very clean answer to this dragon that is currently dominating the board for Ian Braverman.
Yeah, I would imagine in that case, a Vincer comes down to save the dragon. But petty theft, you cannot steal what you already have. So the Brazen Borrow Adventure could only target Dom's things. So right now, Dom has a Canker Bloom, a Chatterfang, and a Steel Seraph in his hand. Notably, only one of these fly. And it's the one that costs 6. So does Dom go for the 6-mana Steel Seraph?
Yeah.
Or does he deploy multiple threats, hoping to race Ian to death?
Well, he's going to have to figure it out quickly because we are officially in turns. This is turn 0, so Ian Braverman is going to have turn 1 before we go to a draw. Now, it's very possible, and Dom is going to go for the Steel Seraph on 6, and Ian's got the secret card he had was a remand. And that was good enough to give Dom Harvey his very first loss of the entire weekend. Congrats to Ian Braverman. Now, I don't know if we have a backup match, but I'm guessing we don't since we were in turns, so I'm going to just stop talking about that. All right, we are going to come back in just a moment. We are obviously very ready for the next round as that one went directly to time. So for Dave McDarby, for Justin Parnell, don't go anywhere. CUBECon 2023 will be back in just a few minutes.
Please stay.
We are back for the last round of the last draft of the second day of CUBECon here in Madison, Wisconsin. Justin Parnell, David McDarby. We're not going to see Dom Harvey taken down in his very first loss of the entire weekend. Ian Braverman outlasted him despite being the blue-black deck.
Yeah, so it proved the old adage, blue-black just beats up on green-white. And
It did today.
Dom played so masterfully, like he did everything he could to fight against the blue-black removal spell card draw bounce menace, but it really just a rough matchup. It's a bad matchup. What are you going to do? You're going to come back tomorrow and cube more.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we still have several hundred players here today, but we have just a couple of left.
Just 2 left.
And that's going to be Ian Braverman and
versus
Joe Anderson.
Anderson.
And they're off to the races. They could be already in game 3. Joe's going so fast, starting with a Zergo Bell Striker and a Carry Zev off of 2 mountains. Ian swamp cycling a Troll of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Okay,
I'll take it. I'm not a greedy man.
Okay.
So it looks like Ian is playing against the Blue Black's least favorite deck in the World of Magic the Gathering, Mono Red.
But one of the favorite 2-drops it could play as a blue-black deck is Baleful Strix to say, I might be interested in trading with that Zergo Bell Striker if you would be so kind.
Yes, so the Carry Zev will not get traded because it has a menace, and instead Joe deploys Night Scythe. This is a vehicle from Warhammer 40k. It's a 3/1 flyer, but also comes with your lovely neighborhood 2/2 black zombie Necron creature token, also an artifact. So it looks like Joe Anderson is a mono red. In fact, he is swinging with the Zergo, striking that bell, and the Carry Zev, bringing Ian down to 15.
Unfortunately, Zergo's going to get his bell rung and trade with the Death Touch creature out of Ian Braverman. Yep. And we are now going to see an Inquisition of Kozilek to follow up with this cheap spells. Ian's only casting things that cost 1 and 2, and we are going to select
Heartfire Immolator.
Right. Prowess 2/2 for 1 and a red, leaving Shadow Spear in Joe's hand.
And if you're a blue-black player, your opponent has an equipment that basically just gives them life. That's totally fine. I just wanted to kill all your creatures so that you have all these useless equipments lying on the ground, not being picked up. So that's totally fine with Ian, I'd say.
And this could start to become tough for Ian if Joe is able to stabilize here with this Jace, but not quite able to turn it into the Planeswalker side of the talented telepath that's lurking on the back with only 3 cards in his graveyard.
Yep, so Joe is swinging here for 7 damage. We're going to drop Ian down to 8. So Ian is pretty, like on the back ropes. Like it ain't easy being a Dimir Mage against a mono red with, 4 mountains in play and a million spells.
It's not.
So we'll see if Ian can maybe draw Engineer Explosives. Would be fine, hitting, even though Joe does have a 0, 1, 2, and
sure
3.
Does. Yeah, take your pick there, buddy.
Yeah, so Ian, we're looking for a Vincer. Vincer does a pretty good job.
Right.
Baleful Mastery. Looks like we have an Otawara and a Roan's Grim Search. Roan's Grim Search is perhaps the card you don't want to see at all in this matchup.
And I would imagine we won't see it in game 2.
No. So right now, Ian is probably doing the play of cast a spell on Ian's turn and then block with Jace, activate. Oh, yep, so here comes the Vincer.
We do have Vincer.
Carry Zev, get back in the hand. Night Scythe has been accrued, flies through in the air for 3. And Ian's like, I'll go ahead and do some hot looting action.
Yeah, we're going to loot, but we know Ian is definitely going to go to 5 from this Night Scythe, slashing across the red zone before Carry Zev is redeployed in the second main phase and then suited back up with that Shadow Spear.
Yep, so Ian is, up against the ropes looking for perhaps a Murderous Rider to just cast it. Or just really something to do other than Roan's Grim Search. So here comes Jace, looking for a card. It was an island, but soon the talented telepath will make an appearance.
And that is good because that allows Ian to either return something from his graveyard. Currently, the only option is Inquisition of Kozilek. I would imagine that's not going to be the case. So we're probably going to +1 to give something a -2, which you can't hit the Night Scythe, but you can make the Necron Warrior not be able to crew it.
That's true. So Jace not only decreases power, but he's like, you know what? Forget how to drive. Like, stop knowing how to drive.
And so on flavor.
I mean, Jace can just do so many things. So Joe Anderson found a Dragon Engine. So here comes a 2/2 for 3 that, it can crew. It can jump in the Night Scythe. Get in there and start driving down Ian's throat.
It can't, yeah. And it might want to this turn, but in future turns, it might not because it has double strike on its own.
Yeah. So Karizev, yet again, is a World Traveler going back to the hand due to that Odawara that was discounted due to that Vincer.
And it's gonna be tough to justify bouncing the Night Scythe, as if it were to be redeployed, it comes with another Necron Warrior.
Yep. Night Scythes are known for transporting Necron Warriors across the galaxy as the Necrons try to reclaim their domain of lots and lots of planets.
Has a Night Scythe ever crashed into a Braverman face?
Night Scythes have crashed a lot, let me tell you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's might be happening right now, as Ian is looking at all of his options before scooping it up, and that is what we're going to see. Wow. Joe's like, yeah, we'll go ahead and shake the hand. I'll think about it.
Yeah, Ian's like, you know what, here we go. Here's 4 lands. I'm not going to show you this other card, though. Don't worry about it. It's probably coming out if I had to guess.
Yeah, we're not going to see Rowan's Grim Search. That was probably the only time that we're going to see that.
Yep.
But as you said, nightmare scenario for blue-black control.
Yep, so Mono Red did what it did best. So I talked to Joe a little bit beforehand. He actually P1 Felden, the Excavator.
Oh, wow.
It's not a good, in his words, not a good card, but it's the last draft, and my brain hurts. So he took the Rowan to do Mono Red,
Yeah,
and
it's
you know what?
a 2-2 for 2 with ace.
You know what he opened up? Pack 2, pick 1.
Was it a card we just saw?
No, it was a card you didn't see. It's the number 1 card you'd want for a Mono Red aggressive deck.
Well, that would be Sulphurous Vortex, but I don't think that's in the
No,
cube.
Ragavan.
Ragavan Nimble Pilfer?
The Pilfer. So
boy.
Joe has
Woo-wee.
both Ragavans in his
Okay.
deck. Mono Red. Sometimes, you know what? I'm tired. I'm hungry. Mono Red on the brain. I'm going to play Mono Red, and you just get rewarded with Ragavan.
I honestly did. I forgot that was in this cube, to be honest,
Well-
because we're also tired.
What? I'm not tired. I could commentate Cube all day.
Well, that's good.
All day long. More hours. CubeCon every day.
Well, that's good because tomorrow. So you had a panel today
I
behind
did.
the spell book
That's
with
right.
your friends at Wizards of the Coast.
Yes.
Your coworkers. Tomorrow there's another panel.
Yes.
It's actually a game show panel. We're going to be very excited, but we do have a sponsor for that, and that sponsor is Card Castle. It's our exclusive sponsor for CubeCon University, which are our panel section this year here at CubeCon. And they're the premier collection management platform for Magic players and collectors.
Yes.
Merge the physical and digital realms by wielding your smartphone. You got one right
I have
there.
one right here. Omniscience. It knows everything.
You can scan your cards and create a digital catalog of your collection, accessible on your browser or right there on your phone.
I got a lot of cards. I got to scan them.
You can stay on top of your card prices and even manage your cube right on the app.
I definitely love managing cubes.
I know that you do.
I love managing cubes.
Well, you know what you can also do is you can free your mind from all the chaos that's going on with those cubes and the clutter of your collection. Join thousands of Magic players organizing their cards with Card Castle.
Great. I also want to not join thousands of Magic players, but I want to join 2 right now. Joe Anderson and Ian Braverman in this game too. And Joe yet again has Zurgo ringing that bell on turn 2, but looks like Ian perhaps boarded in an 0-4. The reality chip comes down.
Sometimes you need a 2-mana Kraken Hatchling.
Well, it's a jellyfish.
Oh, I stand corrected. You
You
know
sit
what?
down.
You know what hates jellyfish? That's Bone Splitter. That
Bone
splits-
splitter.
You're like you don't even you don't have any bones, but I'm gonna split you in half anyway.
So the reality chip does a great job at blocking creatures, but Joe has a 4-2, exactly what you don't want to see. Meanwhile, Ether Channeler didn't draw a card, didn't make a bird. It bounced that 1-mana creature back to Joe's hand.
God, that is not where you want to be. And we're
Meanwhile,
gonna see
Joe's like, you know
Zergo
what?
and Carry Zeb deployed.
That's
Good
fine.
Gracious.
Joe's like, these threats did me just fine game 1. You know, I brought him back for round 2. Ian also brought back Baleful Strix for round 2. That is a great card to have against a Zurgo Bell Striker.
You're gonna need it. You're definitely gonna need it. Oh man, we picked up a removal spell out of Joe, and we're
It's
gonna
shock.
start. We're
It's
gonna
shock.
It is,
Deals
but
2 damage to any target.
we're gonna torch it.
We're done here.
Yeah,
Reman, get that
Oh,
shock back there.
that is
So the last match, we saw all these bounce spells do great against these tokens. Against mono red, bounce is a little different ball game.
this is desperation.
Not only do we get torched, we got strangled.
Bye.
Ian is getting torched. He's getting strangled. It's like his bell's getting rung. Ragavan is the first mate, is just getting him. And the reality chips saves Ian 2 life.
but still taking 5.
But still taking 5, going to 11.
That is a
Holy
lot.
moly.
And Remand was really just a please dear Lord, let me dig a card deeper into my deck.
Yep, Ian would love just literal Doomblade right now. Just give him terror.
He'd
I would take terror.
He'd take terror. He'd
Well,
take Dark Banishing at this point, I believe. I mean, honestly, and we are on 5 mana from Joe. We've only seen things that cost one or two, really. And if this Rakdos
Rick's Madi Reveler.
Rick's Madi Reveler, not Rakdos Reveler. Rick's Madi Reveler is able to resolve. We're going to discard a card and then draw a card, which discarding a land, I mean, that's basically like drawing a whole card.
Joe
and we've drawn another 2/2 for 2.
Joe did not need that 6 mountain, not often a thing you see in decks with Zergo Bellstriker, but that Heartfire Immolator will actually get interacted with, and Ian will cast a 1/1 removal spell on it. Sadly, Joe's like,
Ian's like, hold on,
I got this adventure card. It might coming at you. But you know what? I'm just going to block this monkey, and I'm going to petty theft this Zergo Bellstriker back to your hand.
Back to your hand. The Berserker Bellstriker have been recast for the third time now, and here it comes.
Here it comes. 1 mana. Bouncing is just not great versus mono red, but Ian's like, you know what? I'm going to play to my outs, do what my cards say I can do, and try to survive this mono red onslaught. Picking up Vincer, Shaper Savant. That's actually a 2/2. That can block things.
It's gonna have to.
It's gonna have to. Ian is using the special action of the mythic equipment from Neo Kamigawa to check out his future. Will then probably keep this Vincer in his hand, come down in the combat step, and try to stay alive. Here we come. Oh, a Horizon Canopy land.
If we're gonna draw a land, let's have it be one that can cycle into a more useful card.
Like Ginger Brute.
Ginger Brute
has arrived. The Brute is coming down to in the game. So sadly, that blue creature doesn't have haste.
Yeah, Vincer's good, but he's not fast.
Well, blue creatures, why they may have gained vigilance in recent years, still have yet to gain haste outside of bonded fetch.
Oh, their haste is flash, which we are gonna see likely with. No. Well, 3 mana is not a Vincer mana. We have a frantic search.
So another Neo Kamigawa cards, that one art is from at least, is known for being strong. So we're going to see he'll be pitching 2 blue-black lands, untaps the lands, and then see if Ian can draw something to stop these little red and colorless creatures.
I believe Vincer is likely going to get rid of Carry Zev as soon as we go into the combat step, so we can't move the Bone Splitter over to something a little more tasty, but instead we're going to just crash in. Ragavan's going to come down. Vincer's going to come down after the token is made, and going to save 3 life instead. Ginger Brute going to go back to the hand.
Yep, Vincer, he'll take that 2/2 trading with the 2/2. The chip will save off 2 damage, and Ian's taking a few more damage
Only
points.
going to take 3, and Ginger Brute comes back down, and this is going to be a gigantic problem. Look, I got to say,
all right,
I don't have any rooting interest in particular between these two players. They both look like they are operating at peak proficiency. However, something warms my heart about a draft ending with a Ginger Brute holding a Bone Splitter, and I really like both of those cards.
Cube, you have all kinds of cards that cost all kinds of color of mana, all kinds of mana numbers. Sometimes you just need 1 colorless to get the job done.
Yeah.
So here, Ian is digging through time. Holy moly! Please, dear, what's the blue-black god?
Phoenix.
Finax. Please, dear Phoenix, deliver upon me some removal spells.
So this is the problem. You got to pray to Erebros.
You
know why? You can't play to Phoenix. You got to play to Erebos because there's only swamps available for Ian right now. So we don't want any blue cards. We need some black cards that have some interaction. Or we're not going to be going to a game 3. We're going to be going to Joe joining us in the booth if he closes this one out shortly.
Yep. So Ian does have a Tyrant Scorn in hand. So he does have a life for a blue mana. But right now, Ian is digging through time, looking at the top cards. Rally chip action. So right now we do have some islands, but Ian is figuring out how to stay alive from all these mountain spells. But really, it's the colorless cards that are doing a lot of the hard work.
Yeah, they're doing the heavy lifting here. Ian selected 2. The others are going to go on the bottom of his deck. We do have a Tyrant Scorn. I don't see any blue mana. We do have a Toxic Deluge.
This could be it.
It does require 3.
Down to 4. But, so here we are. Every blue-black player has been here before. You're like, all right, I've dealt with all your spells. Please don't draw a spell. But Joe drew his P1. He drew the card he started off the entire draft with, off the top with the Bone Splitter to get that reality chip out of the way. Now, Ian did draw Imrith, which does have 4 power. It has 5 power and 4 toughness.
It does.
So that can be a removal spell.
That is very dangerous.
So,
That's very, very, very dangerous. Because if he's going to hold up this Tyrant Score. This is so much safer.
Yeah,
so much
Tyrant Score's
safer.
coming down. Attack for 4 for lethal. Can Tyrant Score, Nicol Bolas, get out of here.
That is destroyed.
Why are you still here, Nicol Bolas?
Well,
pass turn. All right, Ian loves that. Ian loves seeing the turn being passed back. All right,
Ian's got life. It's Dragon time.
It's Dragon time. So Fabled Passage. It's a fetch land, but notably doesn't take life to activate.
Heyo, that's exactly what Ian wants. All right.
So Ian plays the 5/4, trying to get that last card out of his hand.
6 lands. That's not where Joe wants to be.
That is not. That's correct. So Ian is cracking that land. Maybe Ian can deploy both cards next turn, so we get the full Ancestral Recall from this Desert Doom.
It could spell doom for Joe very quickly if he's able to draw 3 cards.
All right.
I think there's reason to believe the last card in Joe's hand is another land.
Yep.
Or maybe something that deals damage to creatures, but it's not 5 damage.
No, so Ian will simply draw 1 card because he has 2 removal spells in his hand.
Yeah.
Feeling pretty good, and looking like this Imrith is going to be just driving this game home by attacking for 4 times in this game.
And the big problem is not just Imrith, but Brazen Borrow could return from a venture and cut down the amount of attacks by 1.
1 turn.
That's a huge amount against Mono Red.
1 is huge. 1 is huge. Joe did draw a spell today, though, in the form of Sir Ginger.
Yeah.
You know, kind of everyone's favorite little cookie from cinematics.
Yeah, she was unhappy about what happened to her hubby in the Throne of Eldraine cinematic.
Yeah, you know, she faced off against Garrick, who we see all the time in the Magic Gathering nowadays, and is looking to take down those Planeswalkers left and right. Teferi, watch out, your days are numbered with Sir Ginger on the case.
Yeah, and Joe's days might be numbered in game 2 as we see an attack for 8 in the sky, bringing Joe down to 7, and now putting Joe on the back foot of actually having to draw something to end the game this turn. Removing creatures is not enough. You have to kill Ian.
Yes.
That's your option.
And Ian does have a commitment in his hand, so Joe needs like a Stoke the Flames or some other 4-mana direct to the face burn damage spell. We'll see what he drew. This is like, oh, okay, yep.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go to game 3. Oh my gosh, free magic. Look, as much as I would have loved to end it.
Nah, that's not why we're here. We are here for Cube. We're here for Con.
We are.
We're here for CubeCon, and we're going to watch the final game of CubeCon today here coming up of Joe versus Ian Braverman.
And I really love Bone Splitter. I just wanted to, can we just talk about Bone Splitter for a minute while they're sideboarding?
Proceed.
So Bone Splitter is one, in my opinion, of one of the OG, the original Cube cards, and I think it's one of those rare cards that's been around since basically the inception of the format, practically. It's been around for about 18 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Split a lot of bones.
Yeah, and it keeps splitting them. This card is so good. It's a common. It goes in almost every single cube as long as your cube is interested in attacking with small creatures, unlike Live the Dream. Not quite that one. Okay. But there's several other cubes, basically all the rest, that really love Bone Splitter. I love a Bone Splitter. Yeah, I love it. It's so disrespected. Whenever I draft, it always goes so late. I first picked this card so many times in my lifetime. I just love a Bone Splitter. And Ginger Brute, one of the best champions to carry it.
Sir Ginger Brute, love to pick it up. So I started in Zendikar. The first Zendikar, by the way, boomer alert. And it had a card called Trusty Machete. If we could get Trusty Machete pulled up here, that'd be great. It's kind of like a Bone Splitter, but it's more for a civilized age. It has a more reasonable equip cost, you know, and like, look, it gives you toughness.
Look at that.
I love a good toughness. So like for me, so there are 2 types of people who love Bone Splitter and people who love Trusty Machete.
Yeah,
and you can always trust this machete. You can trust the machete just like how we can trust Ian and Joe having a great game 3, which is what we're going to check out right now as we get to the final game of CubeCon Day 2. 2023.
This is it.
At Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm very excited.
I'm excited too.
I love Mono Red. I love Mono Red. The last match, the last game you play, just give me 16 mountains. Pass them over. Let's go.
You know what I like to do, and as as Joe plays a Bomat Courier on turn 1, exiling the top card of his deck, potentially for later. One of the things I like to do after I draft Mono Red is I like to out loud just ask for 16 mountains.
Yeah, 16 mountains. The
16 mountains.
16 mountains, please.
Yeah.
Just pass them over. All right, who's ready?
Right.
And here comes Joe's.
Here comes Felden coming in for 3. as beating down Ian very early, and that's the cost that Ian is going to deal with after winning game 2, is now Joe's going to get to be on the play in game 3, the most important game of the entire series, of course.
Yep. So Joe started with 2 haste creatures, a 1/1 for 1, the same mana cost as Trusty Machete and Bone Splitter. Also, Feldon, Ronom, Excavator, and when you're a blue-black player, the word you like to least see is haste. Those
Yeah.
5 simple letters.
It's my favorite keyword on a creature.
It's actually my favorite keyword too. We can align on that.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
all right. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
We have 3 exiled cards with the Bomat Courier, and we have a Surge Ginger that's going to meter remand. Actually, one of the better things to meter remand because it doesn't have haste.
Haste.
Yeah, so you're really setting your opponent back
mean-
about 2 turns when you cast it, especially in this situation.
If Ian had Teferi play, then haste in.
Well,
So he's really glad Teferi is not slowing things down because Joe is not interested in slowing things down. He's interested in speeding things up. He's got places to be. He's got trophies to win.
and we're going to see if Ian has anything to say about it because we are at a very critical turn 3, but we don't have 2 black mana.
So Swift End or Murderous Rider are not live. Maybe Ian is holding back for a Toxic Deluge later when he gets juicier. Maybe Ian's looking for a Petty Theft, or maybe Ian just has a Supreme Will for that Sir Ginger.
Yeah.
But no matter what, Ian's taking 3. And this Bomat Courier is a ticking clock. It deals a damage a turn, but it's going to be able to reload Joe's hand later on, so you eventually will have to deal with that. But Joe does deploy a Grim Lavamancer, a great card to not only take down all of Ian's pest creatures, and Ian's going to be cycling a Rafine's Tower. This is not where you want to be, but maybe Ian's looking for a Toxic Deluge for 2.
I think I'd take the 3 for 1 at 2 life when I'm
Yeah.
at 10.
I would take that. I would take Explosive Engineer Explosives. There it is.
Thank you. You've
Thank you.
summoned it to the battlefield.
I couldn't quite get the name out there, but I got the card out there.
4-1, and I think this, it's not the time to do it yet. You want to make sure to go to combat, make sure that they can put the creatures into the red zone before you do it in case Joe has another haste creature like a Ginger Brute that cost 1.
Or a Ragavan Dash, which is what Joe just drew this turn.
Wow.
Wow.
And, well, the thing is, we know that Joe's not going to play this Ragavan into Engineered Explosives. I feel pretty comfortable saying that.
Yeah, that sounds like something Joe would not do.
Yeah, I think Joe would not do that. But we do have 4 cards exiled, and instead we're just going to see, let's
No,
go
just
ahead and
take
just
one.
get rid of that.
Do not exile a card. So now Joe has to consider his options. Does he want the 4 cards in the grip, the 6 cards in the grip,
I believe he's going to hang on to those.
or the 4 cards? I mean, there could be 4 mountains under that Bomat Courier. I'd rather have the Ragavan. He's kind of 1, 2, 5, 6. 6 is more than 4, but crunching the numbers to make sure that is the correct play.
It's not free, though. You have to pay a red to do it.
Sounds like Joe is interested in that. Here's my grip. It was a bunch of spells.
That
not
is
interested
an
in that.
interesting choice.
And Joe's like, you know what? I think I can do better.
Grim Lavamancer also going to go to the graveyard, and we now are going to exile to get 2 damage. 2 of these are going to be gone.
Yep, Nugget for 2.
And we'll try to make sure they do go to exile, as Joe is going to pick up 4 more cards. Are they better than what we had? I don't see any. I see. That's the. Oh, is that a wasteland?
Wasteland.
Oh no, that is good. That takes Joe off of his second black.
His second black. That is really strong. Joe, maybe that turns out to be the right play.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Black
And
is back.
Ian plays an Island Pass or Swamp Pass.
All
so
right.
Ian does have all his colors available to him.
Now we do see a 3rd mountain at Joe's hand, and that seems to be the sweet spot for Joe to being able to deploy a 1-drop and a 2-drop, which he's done many, many times. He has 4 cards in his hand. One of them is a mountain. We're going to see that come down. Ian at 6. That's
life.
a low life total.
Yeah, it's not where I want to be. And Feldon, he's an old man, but he still got it, and he still take down 2 damage at a time when he feels like it.
I mean, that's all.
Feel
That's all
uppity.
you really need.
When he's excavating, feel like, you know what?
And we
Where's
know we
where's
have
my
a
wife at? I want my wife back.
we
Back
have
for 2.
we have. Oh, we got.
Oh,
Ginger
here we
Brute.
go, the
That
brute.
cuts the turn in half, baby.
It sure
That's
does.
coming in for 3.
Attack for 3. Here we have a commit to Feldon. He's committed to bringing his wife back. Now he's committed to being 2 cards down.
And
from his library.
we're committed to saying Feldon's going to come back next turn because I'm definitely going to discard this Stone Coil Serpent to draw a new card, and then Feldon's going to come off the top, and that is going to potentially present lethal to Ian when it's on the stack. Ian at 5, Joe potentially representing 5 damage with that Feldon along with Ginger Brute and the Reveler.
Now Ian is pondering his orb, as it were, and trying to figure out how to get out of this puzzle. His opponent's playing you know, 1 and 2 mana spells, and Ian has spells that cost way more than 1 and 2, such as 5 in the form of Teferi Temporal Pilgrim, which Ian will be deploying.
And of course, we're going to see an illusion into the battlefield with Vigilance, and this is the critical turn. The illusion probably has to trade. If it can get to 3, it's probably out of range for anything that Joe is doing because any burn spells are likely going to get pointed to his
I
face.
cannot trade this 2/2 faster.
Ooh.
So Joe has another charming spell in the form of Charming Scoundrel.
It's going to turn into a treasure token.
Made a treasure. Ronan comes down, and here comes 4 creatures. So Ian blocks the largest, which is the Rixmani Reveler, and that's 4 damage. I assume Joe sent them all to Ian's dome. Yeah, you could also hit the Ronan because Ian would be able to bottle for 2, but wouldn't be able to play any of those cards this turn, but maybe could play them next turn. So I think Ian chose correctly, blocks the Rixmani Reveler, goes to 1 life. Teferi, bail me out. Please, Teferi. He's done it before. Teferi has bailed out so many people before. We're going to see if we can get him out.
You know who's also bailed out? One of the other most powerful planeswalkers in all of Magic? That's Gingerbrute. And I don't think that Ian has any haste creatures in his deck, so we have to see an interaction spell, a removal spell, something to bounce on Gingerbrute, or that is going to win this draft.
That will be. I mean, Gingerbrute, like I know Chris Mooney, one of my good friends at Wizards, has working on a Gingerbrute cube.
God bless.
Like, there are so many Gingerbrute, like Gingerbrute, they put Gingerbrute back in Wilds of Eldraine because they love Gingerbrute so much.
Of course.
Like
we would have rioted had that not happened.
We would have rioted. So Ian right now is rioting as he's digging through time, looking for some way to stop the Gingerbrute.
The most appropriate. We have to dig through time to stop Gingerbrute. And really, now that we've tapped 3 lands and we're only going to have access to 3 mana at best this turn, we're going to be able to make something. No, we're going to see the handshake come across, and Joe is relieved knowing that we were going to turn the corner so quickly. But Joe, with Gingerbrute, carrying him to a victory here in our 3rd draft at CUBECon.
You know, mono red is a thing in present basically every cube. Most cubes, mono red is the most winningest deck of any combination of cards in the cube. And Joe proved that right here. We had the creative cube, lots of cool synergies. Joe was like, you know what? Mountains.
Hey, here he comes.
Here,
here
Joe.
he comes.
Yeah. Woo!
All right, buddy. Go ahead and pop that headset on.
Yeah. Welcome. Welcome to the booth. Nice work, Joe. How do you feel?
I feel great, man.
All right, one more time.
I feel great. I am a red mage, as you might be able to tell from my shirt.
Yeah.
My 2 previous drafts today, I went 0-3, losing to Andy Mangold in the final 0-2 bracket.
Okay.
And then I played this cube, and I went 1-2.
Well, clearly you learned what to do in future plays of the cube.
Yes, I learned that instead of trying to pick fetch lands and play good cards like Expressive Iteration, pack 1, pick 1-ing Feldon, and forcing mono red, like I enjoy at anyways, results in my beautiful lord giving me a Ragavan, pack 2. And I got to play mono red. I got to be on coverage. This is all I wanted. One of my goals for CUBECon, I've been talking about for like a few months with my friends, is that I am a giant ham that likes to be in front of a camera, and I wanted to be on coverage.
All right.
And
here you are.
yay.
Well, the way to do that, Joe, for the rest of the weekend is you continue to win. You've got one draft, one trophy under your belt. You're going to need at least one more, probably.
And you know what? Feldon was way better than Ragavan in all my games.
Really?
The only thing Ragavan did all night was chump block once.
You heard it here first. I'm going to write this down.
Ragavan, Feldon.
Over Ragavan.
You heard it here first. I mean, that's the words of a trophy winner.
Yeah,
we
as you
can't
can tell,
argue.
I'm bad at Magic.
Well, you know what? You were good enough to take down. You were able to take down a very tough pod featuring Dom Harvey, who in the pod coming into today has been undefeated on the day, has not lost a single match.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You defeated the Cube owner in round 2, Mike
yes,
Kirby.
he was a little salty. But he was really nice though.
He was disappointed.
No, it was really cool because a lot of the archetypes he's running, like the weird little red legends thing, are things that I'm also running in my cube.
Love it.
We're talking about like, oh, are you running Mox Amber, Plaza of Heroes? What's going on with that? It's really cool. But also sometimes you just play mono red and just like murder people.
Yeah.
And he asked like, and I asked him, I'm like, there wasn't a whole lot of burn. He's like, that's intentional. Aggro was very good, and now it is only okay.
Right.
So.
Well, you proved it was better than blue-black control.
You did?
You know what? Gingerbrute.
Gingerbrute.
Brutal card.
Thank you. Hey,
Brutal card.
I was singing Gingerbrute's praises the entire time as you were casting it.
So you just saw it in that match.
Well,
Gingerbrute.
I've seen it a lot more, let me tell you.
every single match I won tonight, Ginger Brute dealt like 3 or more damage.
Oh, yeah.
All right, yeah.
The Brute is back, baby.
Better than Lightning Bolt is what I say.
Sir Ginger was also awesome.
Yeah.
Sacking
Yeah.
clues with that, and like I had a lovely time. I know that the commentators and the coverage team have been here all night
We have.
and all day. And I am off to go play more Vintage Cube. I'm
I
gonna go
think you
play
should.
Aqua's
Yeah.
Vintage Cube and also try and force Mono Red. So
Well, great.
I hope you have
Well,
a
Joe,
wonderful night.
Thank you
Nice.
so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
Congratulations
Nice
on
work.
your win. And you know what? Keep it up, and we might see you on Sunday in Top 64 as we continue our coverage for CubeCon.
Can I say one last little
You
thing?
can.
Thank you to all the CubeCon organizers. I absolutely love this. I did a little event out in California Cube Championships last year because I was so inspired by this. We had like 60 people, and I'm going to do it again this year in June 8th and 9th at my little LGS.
Awesome.
So,
More
There you go.
Cube is
Thank you
great
very
for
much.
everyone. Check that out if
Yeah.
you are in that area. Thank you again, Joe. Congratulations
Nice
on
work.
your win.
Yep.
All right.
Making red mages proud everywhere.
Absolutely. You know, it wouldn't be Cube if we didn't have a mono red deck take a trophy down
Yeah.
on coverage this weekend.
You always want mono red, and that's a great way to end a night. It was with mono red.
It is.
That's the perfect way to end
It's
the
a
night.
great way to end a night at around 10:30 Eastern or Central
Central.
Time. One of the fake time zones. That's
Yeah.
right. And speaking of which,
We may be ending tonight, but we're coming back tomorrow.
that's right. We're going to be back at 9 a.m. Central. People here at CubeCon, we still have a ton of. You wouldn't guess that it's this time at night. We
But
still have a
it's
ton
still
of,
full.
It's still full. People are just cubing. The event technically is over. There's still a ton of cube drafts going on.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, not only that, we have more. We have more cube. We have more panels.
More coverage,
Yeah.
more Cube University.
That's right. We got it all. So do not go anywhere.
Well,
Well, go
you
anywhere.
can go to sleep tonight.
Do not.
We'll
do,
let you do that.
No, stay by your
Wherever you're watching.
wherever you're watching on
Phone,
your
yeah.
device. Because we're going to be back 9 a.m. Central Time, one of the fake time zones. Unless you live there, it's very nice.
Yep, we'll be back here with Andy Mangold and Jonathan Brostoff,
Jonathan Brostoff
the cultivator of CubeCon, the originator.
is the OG. So thank you all so much for watching. Again, for David McDarby, I'm Justin Parnell, CubeCon 2023. Thank you all for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
CubeCon.